To Friday Night Football on TSN. Tonight, Als, Bombers. Come on in.
Friday Night Football.
Two men who know the glory years of the Alouettes all too well. GM, head coach Jim Popp, Anthony Calvillo, the offensive coordinator, of course, a great quarterback, one of the best QBs in the history of the Canadian Football League. They're trying to get the Owls back on top. Andrew Harris trying to do the same for his hometown team. First year as a Blue Bomber, one of the big additions for Winnipeg after 6 seasons with the BC Lions. Talk about key additions. Returning, Duron Carter, third in the CFL and receiving yardage in 2014, a year in the NFL, and back for his 2016 debut. Game 1, Alouettes and the Bombers in Winnipeg as Week 1 continues, the opening week of the CFL season. Welcome to it. Friday Night Football on TSN. Rod Smith along with the panel of Jock Climby, Matt Dunnigan, and Milt Stegall. Featuring two teams that did not make the playoffs last year, who had to go through a lot of changes to turn things around, particularly Winnipeg after 4 straight years missing the playoffs now. What are the keys to this game? What are you watching for?
Well, we've talked so much about the receiving core and the quarterbacks, but you know what? Last night's game and being there on the sidelines and watching Toronto and Hamilton reminded me of just how much the game's won and lost in the trenches. I mean, the Hamilton defensive front seven just exerted their will and controlled the game, and the same thing will have to happen here for the team that wins. Terrell Sutton, leading rusher in the CFL last year. He's the key. Can Winnipeg's front four stop him?
And this is kind of my opportunity to segue into the special teams, which we hadn't talked about. And two great returners, McDuffie and Logan, for both teams could make big plays in this ball game in a heartbeat. And then you got Boris Beatty and Justin Medlock. And Medlock is on my fantasy team, just letting you know this week. And, so I think these two guys and the returners can be a big part of this football game instantaneously.
Since Drew Willie has taken over as a starter, his biggest problem has been his health. And a big reason his health is so bad is he's been getting hit so much. Last year, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers gave up 59 sacks. They have to allow Willie to throw the ball. If they can do that, they can win this game and possibly even go to the Grey Cup, like Matt said.
Yeah.
That was a bold prediction.
Worries coming in. When Andrew Harris is talking about a hamstring the week, 4 days before a ball game, boy, that scares me. Been there, done that, man. That's just too close about a hammy in playing time.
For the last couple of years, we're always joined in studio by Paul Lapalese doing the coach's playbook. We'll be curious to see how that coach's playbook, Lapla, the new OC in Winnipeg, goes tonight. The Alouettes coming out at Investors Group Field for their opener in those white helmets. New uniforms, Montreal, and back to basics for the Blue Bombers as well. The kickoff coming up with Rod and Dwayne. Claude Norman of Winnipeg, you can win the ultimate $25,000 home theater package from Visions Electronics if a kickoff is returned for a touchdown in this game tonight, thanks to Safeway Sobeys touchdown to win promotion. And if a second kickoff is returned to pay dirt in this one, you'd also win $1 million. Claude, good luck with that. Due to an oversight last night, Steve Prince, you won touchdown to win from the Argos Ticats last night. So tonight we are in Winnipeg with Rod and Dwayne. We're going to head there right now for the Bombers and Alouettes, guys.
Hello, Canada. Here we are again, the new season upon us. 209 days since the last season ended in this stadium with the Grey Cup game. Bomber fans anticipating what they hope will be a turnaround season. So too the fans in Montreal. We say a happy Saint Jean-Baptiste Day to the football fans in Quebec.
And happy homecoming to this guy, Andrew Harris. The Winnipeg native returns to his home city to join the Blue Bombers after 6 seasons on the roster of the BC Lions, one of their most important free agent acquisitions. And a homecoming of another sort on the other side, Duron Carter, who had spent 2 seasons with Montreal, 2013 and 2014, left for a year, spent it on the Indianapolis Colts practice roster. He returns and will be a key cog in this attack.
Jim Popp did not start as a head coach last year. Tom Higgins, of course, he took over, back on the sideline, the GM. And the Alouettes, 19 years in a row in a playoff spot was denied. And Mike O'Shea, third year as Blue Bomber head coach, looking for a turnaround this year. And his team went shopping in the offseason. A slew of free agents, including this guy, Justin Medlock. New team for Medlock and a bunch of other players as we get set to kick it off. New team, new hope, and the new season is here. Steph Logan watches it sail out of bounds. And we may have a reboot here.
Illegal kickoff. Winnipeg, number 9.
So they'll take it at
First
the
down on the
45-yard line.
Montreal.
And Winnipeg, after that kick out of bounds, automatic field position for Kevin Glenn and the Montreal Alouettes.
Season 2015 split between the Saskatchewan Roughriders and the Montreal Alouettes. Kevin Glenn this year has the benefit, A, of having gone through a full training camp with these Alouettes, and B, with the returns of Duron Carter and Kenny Stafford to this Alouette team, a very potent receiving corps.
And they'll move it to the 45-yard line with an out-of-bounds kick. Was at the 40. So 37-year-old Kevin Glenn making his rounds. Came to the Alouettes late last season. Trade from Saskatchewan. Could not bring the Owls to the playoffs. Glenn tossing right away to S.J. Green. And you'd have to think Dwayne Ford, with the arsenal of receivers in Montreal, Kevin Glenn must be licking his lips.
Yeah, absolutely. Some big targets to go to. And we also can't overlook the league's leading rusher last season in Terrell Sutton. There you see that receiving corps. A lot of big bodies. Carter, Stafford, Green, all over 6'2". And on that offensive line, Jeff Parrott, the right tackle, is the only guy starting this season in the same position he was in a year ago.
Second down. Ball on the turf. Rush was coming, so 2 and gone for the Owls offense. These two teams offensively both struggled last year, and keep in mind a lot of new personnel this year, but they were last and second last in most offensive categories.
Well, one of the familiar faces here in Winnipeg, a guy who made a name for himself very quickly last year, Jamal Westerman, 17 sacks, second in the league only to John Bowman. Got his hand on that football.
Boris Beatty, an Eastern Division All-Star. Angles it to the sideline. Quincy McDuffie, former Ticat, trying to find a seam. There he picks his way up near the 26-yard line, where Drew Willie returns to the Winnipeg offense after a 51-yard boot. Paul LaPolice, former head coach of the Bombers, our former analyst on TSN, gives him his last-minute instructions.
Well, it's been proven over the course of the last 2 seasons that Drew Willie is the key to the success of this team. No surprise in the Canadian Football League, they need to have their starting quarterback in the lineup. Every year the key is finding ways to keep Willie from taking any unnecessary hits.
He's not played since last August, and right away he goes to one of the newcomers. And Weston Dressler has his first catch in blue and gold.
Well, I'll tell you what, Rod, it was absolutely fascinating to listen to the introduction of the starting lineup here tonight, and they chose to go with the offense. If there was a roof here to blow off, they'd have blown it off. Went 3 in a row. It was Ryan Smith, Weston Dressler, Andrew Harris. They kind of built to a crescendo.
Harris stuffed at the line on second down, may have even lost a half yard. And it looks like the Bombers will also bring out their kick team. And you're right. Think about Winnipeg football fans who don't care very much for anybody from that province of Saskatchewan. The rivalry for such a long time with the Rough Riders, and they used to hate on Weston Dressler and Ryan Smith, and now they're heroes here coming over in the offseason. Medlock. Steph Logan. Nowhere to go. 42-yard boot. Kevin Glenn, well-traveled quarterback. Been there, done that, has won that. Everything except a Grey Cup. That's the goal. Brings his offense back on the field. Friday Night Football continues. Well, Kevin Glenn may not have won a Grey Cup yet, but he is with the elite. All Hall of Famers. Kevin Glenn knocking on Ron Lancaster's door.
And even Kevin Glenn kind of marveled at that when we talked to him yesterday. Well aware of who Ron Lancaster is, the legend for Kevin Glenn, both from his time in Saskatchewan.
Nowhere to go once again. And both defenses coming up big. As much as they lamented their offensive lack of production last year on both sides, their defenses held them in most games. We'll see a lot of that D tonight.
The reinforcements acquired by the Blue Bombers in the offseason weren't limited to offense. You saw Keith Sholigan, Euclid Cummings in at those defensive tackle spots. Macho Harris in at free safety over from Saskatchewan. Now Johnny Adams, their usual boundary corner, is out.
2nd and 12, and it's a first down. And Kevin Glenn hooking up with Kenny Stafford. Comes back to Montreal in the offseason. Stafford, of course, was with the Alouettes a couple seasons ago. Went to Edmonton in a trade for Fred Stamps. Comes back to Montreal after 9 touchdowns last year and a Grey Cup ring.
And Kenny Stafford is going to work from that bunch formation. Nice job against man coverage, as you just see Kevin Glenn taking advantage of the big body. That team in their receiving core able to shield the defender from the football.
17-yard pickup. Here's a bit of a reverse now. And Duron Carter taking off. Has some blocks. And Carter swoops in near the 37-yard line. And this is something that Duron Carter can do. And picks up 21 yards as he makes his return also to the Alouettes. A year spent away trying to find employment in the National Football League with the Indianapolis Colts.
This is one of the elements of Duron Carter's game that people don't really think of. Typically these kind of plays, you're picturing your smaller receivers, your standard kick returner types. But Duron Carter has that deceptive speed. He's such a long strider. Covers a lot of ground in a short amount of time.
We've seen him return kicks for touchdowns, and quick to the near side to Sammy Giguère. And already Kevin Glenn is using everybody. He's dishing it off back and forth to his weaponry.
You see this play calling so far for Montreal. Kevin Glenn is getting the ball out of his hands very quickly. A lot of timing routes. Of course, Anthony Calvillo on as the offensive coordinator from day one here in 2016, with a couple of youngsters, Jacob Ruby and Philippe Gagnon, starting on that offensive line. Nice to let them settle into a rhythm.
2nd and 7. Glenn fires, almost picked there and knocked away. Chris Randall right in front of S.J. Green. And so that means the field goal unit will have to come out here, and the Alouettes will try to put the first points on the board.
You mentioned Chris Randall. He's demonstrating all of his versatility. He's a guy who has started at the strong side linebacker spot in the past, was pegged to be the field corner this year, but as I mentioned earlier, Johnny Adams led the league in picks a year ago, is out to start the season. So Randall has shifted over to the boundary side. He'll face some tough matchups over there.
Boris Beatty from the 41. And that's good, and the Alouettes strike first. Kevin Glenn engineers a drive, and Boris Beatty finishes it off. And Andrew Harris, the prodigal son, returns. The Bomber offense back on the field. Friday night football rolls on from the Peg. Some great years in BC, and Andrew Harris pulls a LeBron, and he comes home. With more, let's go to the sideline. Here's Sarah Orlesky.
Well, Brad, we heard the fans give this huge cheer for Andrew Harris when he was introduced, when they ran onto the field. Well, he was so excited, he told me before this game, to get going here. You mentioned it there. It's about coming home. This decision to come to the Bombers was a lot more than about football. He has at least 10 people here that he got tickets for. He says he can't even count how many friends and family, though, would be in the stands. His dad flew in from Vancouver as well as the owner of his junior football team, one of the biggest influences of his life. So he said this is a really big night for him. He wasn't going to miss it, hamstring or not.
All right, thank you, Sarah, so much. You saw Ryan Smith make his first catch as a Blue Bomber. Picks up 14. Bear Woods brings him down. Bombers quick tempo. Now Dressler on the seam, and those almost cloned receivers out of North Dakota, Weston Dressler and Ryan Smith, adding to this offense. And this was the introduction tonight you mentioned, Dwayne. I'd say he's jacked up to be home.
As happy as Andrew Harris is to be here, the Blue Bomber faithful are even happier to have this guy wearing blue and gold.
Penalty flag flies, pickoff here. Billy Parker has some running room. Weston Dressler's going to bring him down. Now we're going to have to wait on this infraction. Bombers are saying it's against the Alouettes, and it looks like it is, so take away that takeaway. Referee tonight is Kim Murphy.
Offside. Montreal lineman. 5-yard penalty. First down. Winnipeg.
So Bombers had a free one there. They knew that. Kai Hebert jumped.
Hebert is trying to time up that blitz. Let's see if he was in fact the man who went early. I think as he tried to time it up, it actually may have been the D tackle, Von Martin.
First and 10 from the 50, and again a whistle. This time it's against Winnipeg. Looks like a procedure call.
Procedure. Winnipeg. 5-yard penalty. Remains first down.
29-year-old Drew Willie. College ball in Buffalo. Began his career in Saskatchewan with the Rough Riders, coming to Winnipeg. And last year his season ended in August with that leg injury. Hangs in the pocket. Now he's flushed. A holding call coming to the Bombers. We'll push the ball back even more now. There's John Bowman. Like a fine wine, Dwayne Ford.
33 years old, 11 years in.
Holding. Winnipeg. Number 66. 10-yard penalty. Remains first down.
There you see some of the guys joining John Bowman in what's expected to be a very good front seven this season. Von Martin, draft pick back in 2011, joins him after 5 seasons in the NFL.
Willie goes over the top. Dressler now. Oh, helmet to helmet. Dressler took a shot. Weston Dressler near the Bombers sideline. In his first quarter as a Blue Bomber. Gets leveled after that play. They're looking at him right now. Ethan Davis, rookie cornerback for the Alouettes.
And both guys lowered their shoulders going into contact here, and the helmets collided. Dressler obviously getting the worst of that.
No obvious concern here on the sidelines for Dressler. We'll step aside and come back to Investors Group Field in Winnipeg. And that's a good sign. Weston Dressler is up and walking, but he's being escorted to the locker room right now.
And there you see the numbers for Weston Dressler through 7 seasons with the Saskatchewan Rough Riders. 6 of those being full seasons. Of course, a couple of years ago he had an NFL shot that limited his action, but in each of his full seasons, over 55 catches and over 900 yards.
6 receivers set. Chase Davis has his first Bomber catch. Guy who came to Winnipeg last October, but only for 1 day, worked out with the team, had a rib injury, was released and comes back in the preseason, impresses, and stays on, gets some playing time now with Weston Dressler out of this ball game. We'll try to get a report from Sarah shortly, but it's short of a first down, so it'll be third down, and the Bombers snapped the ball very quickly. Montreal did not have their personnel on the field. There's Steph Logan. What a return season he had last year. 10th all-time in CFL history for Logan. And Justin Medlock. Former Ticat, now a Bomber. Logan cutting back. Quickly downfield are the Bombers. We'll update Weston Dressler as the Alouettes bring their offense on the field, up 3. With all due respect to John Montgomery and the amazing race, how about Kevin Glenn's amazing career? Dwayne Ford, it all began there.
Saskatchewan, 2001. He was a Rough Rider. Argo for a day.
That's only a day, so it goes very quickly, by the way. He goes to
Glenn's right here. Winnipeg, 5 seasons with the Bombers.
Not at that stadium,
East Division most outstanding player in 2007 with Winnipeg. On to the Hamilton Tiger Cats, 3 good solid years there. Got to a Grey Cup with those Calgary Stampeders. Ottawa Red Black, excuse me, Red Black.
It's okay.
It was close. It was close.
Then to BC, but he never played for them. So I can understand. I can understand how that could happen, that Freudian thing. And then back to Saskatchewan. Oh, he's not done yet, folks. No, he's not done. He gets traded to Montreal. And that's where he is tonight, back in Winnipeg with the Alouettes.
9-team league. He has been the property of 8 of those teams.
So you're saying he's a globetrotter? We'll let you know about that one team that he hasn't been with.
Well, what's so amazing about Kevin Glenn is the number of years in his career. When you look at his career stats and you see him among the league's all-time passing leaders, you think about the number of times that Kevin Glenn went to a training camp where he wasn't projected to be the starter. Now, sometimes it was because of injury, and most of the time, quite frankly, it was just because he was better. You couldn't keep this guy on the bench, and he eventually had this knack for always finding his way into the lineup wherever he's been, and he's produced.
So that one team he has not been with, the Edmonton Eskimos, Kevin Glenn.
I've already made it known to Ed Herbert. We've already had that discussion. When Montreal went to go play Edmonton last year, I called him before the game. I made it clear to him and said, hey, look, when I'm done, I will sign that one-day contract with Edmonton, right? So I can make it official that I've been affiliated with every team in the CFL. Me and Ed, we do have an understanding. Ed, if you're watching, remember, don't try to change on me.
Well, we have just been told that there has been lightning seen in the area here, and they are going to retreat to the locker rooms. Maybe that's an omen for Kevin Glenn, talking about that one extra team. But, you know, you mentioned that, and you can see the sky. There was projected to be some weather here tonight, some storm that may blow through. But right now, I mean, there's no rain, just an electrical storm. So we will stand by as the teams go back to their locker rooms. But you mentioned Kevin Glenn. You know, you think about a guy who's played for almost every team in any sport. You call them journeymen. You do not call Kevin Glenn a journeyman, though, do you?
No, absolutely not. Not with the kind of career he's had. I mean, the only thing missing for Kevin Glenn at this point,
one thing,
is a Grey Cup. Obviously hopes he's in a position to go and get that with these Montreal Alouettes this season.
So for the safety of the players and the fans, players go to the locker room, and they've told the fans as well to seek shelter right now. So we will hold on here in a holding pattern in Winnipeg. And there was a forecast. In fact, in the afternoon, they were addressing this situation, possible rehearsal for tonight should some of this weather come in. And it's been a very hot, muggy day in the Manitoba capital. So right now we are in a weather delay. with lightning in the area. And we'll send it back to Rod Smith and the guys in the studio to take it away, boys.
All right, thank you, Rod. Not a confetti cannon this time around, as we saw in Regina a couple of weeks ago. This time, the real deal from above and a threat of lightning. So they are suspending play in Winnipeg with the Alouettes leading the way in the Boris Beatty field goal. But several things we can talk about already in this one. Just want to pick up on the thought of the amazing Kevin Glenn and the travels that he has had. Also want to get to Weston Dressler as well, but that'd be interesting if the Eskimos did sign him for a day before his career is done.
I love it. I love the sense of humor, too.
Yeah.
And that is Kevin Glenn. And, you know, a lot of guys wouldn't have a sense of humor about that. I've teased you for years about the fact that you were a well-traveled quarterback.
Station of contract, yeah.
But you were the type of guy who was getting traded for 7 players. So no one's going to be teasing you about that really seriously. But Kevin Glenn, I'm not sure I agree with what they said. I think he is a journeyman in the sense that he has moved around a lot because he has not had the respect of a lot of general managers in this league. Now, is that fair? No, I think every general manager would say this quarterback deserves our respect. There's just always somebody else a little more exciting, a little more dynamic, who gives us a little more upside. And so Kevin Glenn has been passed over. But then that exciting, dynamic guy gets hurt. Well, thank goodness we got Kevin to throw in there and win us a football game. But Kevin's always been on that edge.
248 career games. That's not starts, that's games. He's been around a while. He's seen a lot. He brings experience. And oftentimes quarterbacks don't have that opportunity to gain experience so they can create some value for themselves with other teams like Kevin's been able to do. He's been able to go just about everywhere he's been and play and contribute in a big way. And I think what's phenomenal about Kevin and why he's ditched the journeyman name is because he's been able to change his career path when he went to Calgary and the role he accepted there and how he handled himself. And he checked his ego, I think, for the first time. And he assumed the backup role and
accepted it.
And
right?
accepted
Yep.
it. And then he got the opportunity to move forward. And I think from that point forward, he gained the respect he deserved because of the way he handled it. And then he went out there and produced on top of it.
And succeeded as
Absolutely.
the backup who had accepted that role.
Absolutely.
Right.
And Kevin is the ultimate professional. There's only one time he's actually taken it personal. The year I retired in Winnipeg in 08, when they got rid of him in 09 and they brought in the guy, what was the guy they brought in from Edmonton? I can't remember his name. That's how bad he was. But that was the one time he took it personal because he felt this was going to be it for him. Winnipeg was going to be the spot for him. He was going to play there another 4 or 5 years maybe. Then they got rid of him. Then he went to Hamilton and he bounced around. That was the only time he took it personal. Other than that, he understands the business aspect of it. And Kevin is just happy to be playing football. He loves his job. He loves what he's doing. Of course, he would like to be in the same city or same place year in and year out, but he understands the business aspect of football.
To Jock's point, when he was in Hamilton with Quentin Porter, he was the projected starter. He started the first game. It wasn't even the first game. Through the first game, and he got pulled. And his first start of the season for Quentin Porter.
I remember you were apoplectic about that.
I was going off.
You were going off.
Are you kidding me?
And you know what? Quentin Porter was the
shortest leash of all time.
And Quentin Porter was one of those shiny new objects that you just wanted to get out there and see what
he looked like Tarzan, played like James.
I think it's a great mix for Montreal moving forward with this group of receivers. You got a mix of veterans in there with Stafford, and then you go with SJ and Nick, and then you've got Duron Carter coming involved there, and Samuel Jaguar. And the running backs and that offensive line, which is pretty good, and that defense, Montreal's a big-time sleeper with Kevin Glenn at the helm.
Yeah, Kevin Glenn, 3 for 5, by the way, 24 yards. I mean, it's very early, midway through the first quarter. The Carter reverse really setting up the only points, the Beatty field goal, and a 3-0 Alouettes lead. If you are just joining us, yes, there's a weather delay. Lightning in the skies over Investors Group Field in Winnipeg, hence the reason they've stopped this game for now. So we're going to take a break. We're going to talk a little bit more, including the Weston Dressler injury as well when he was hit by Ethan Davis. This is Friday Night Football on TSN. We'll be back in a moment. Welcome back to Friday Night Football on TSN. Rod Smith, Jock Climbing, Matt Dunnigan, Milt Stegall. We are in a weather delay in Winnipeg with the Alouettes leading the Blue Bombers 3-0 on a field goal by Boris Beatty. We're only halfway through the first quarter when there was lightning in the skies in Winnipeg, and so a weather delay. Now, in that time, a few interesting developments. One, another concern after we saw it with Jermaine Gabriel last night with the Argos, who, by the way, the great news is fine. He's passed all his tests and Gabriel is expected to make a full recovery and be ready to play again. But we saw Weston Dressler in a helmet-to-helmet with Ethan Davis, Milt. Now, from a receiver's point of view, I mean, that was, that's a frightening collision as well, and he was down for a bit and out of the game. We might even assume, although we haven't even heard anything, that he wouldn't be back for this game. But just your thoughts on that collision with Dressler.
Well, first of all, we want to, make sure that he's okay. You never want to see anybody get injured. We want to hope, he's okay. And Jock and I, we always talk about, being a smart guy instead of a tough guy. Sometimes that tough guy is going to get you hurt because he has an opportunity, in my opinion, to go out of bounds right there. And I know it's a mentality. He has that tough mentality. I'm going to try to get every yard I can, but you have to avoid some of these hits sometimes. He's a smaller guy. He's not a bigger guy. And even if you are a bigger guy, in my opinion, if you're not going to get those extra yards to get a touchdown, get out of bounds. It's TD, OB, touchdown or out of bounds. And I used to tell my coach sometimes a punt team has to work sometimes, coach, because I'm not that tough guy. I told my son, he played football for 3 years, and the coach used to always ask him, why do you keep going out of bounds or falling down? Because he said, my father said, if I can't get those extra yards without getting hit, go down. And that's just my mentality. I played 17 years that way, and it worked for me. I know it didn't work for some guys, but that's my mentality, and that's what I tell all players when you're out there playing. That tough guy stuff is not always the best. It's smart over tough, in my opinion.
But tough guys can be smart as well, Milt. It's just in their DNA, and that's where they made up, and that's their take on the football game. That was my take. Your take was a little bit different. You didn't like the contact. I did. Doesn't make a player any less smart or not. It just, that's in their DNA and their makeup. And that's the way I had to play. That's the way Matt Dunnigan played. That's the way some guys play, and contact's part of their game. Now, as a coach, you're always trying to teach your quarterbacks and your star players and your game breakers, to err on the side of caution. And
I would say that you were unteachable.
Yeah, well, that's just that was.
Which, is it a question of intelligence? It's not a question of intelligence. It is a question of playing differently, though. Overcoming your DNA.
Yeah.
I think you drove coaches crazy.
Yeah.
Because you didn't listen.
Yeah.
Because you had to do it your way. Because you're hard-headed.
And Denny Montana, he was a receiver for me when I was coaching in Calgary.
I played with Denny.
And we called him OB because Denny would be coming over the middle, catch a dig, which is a crossing pattern, and he would lose yardage in order not to get touched to go out of bounds.
Flatten it out.
And there's nothing wrong with that. And that guy could run all day, and I love him to death. And he was a good receiver for us. But Jock, you were kind of a combination of both because you were ready to go over the middle and initiate and take those licks, whereas this guy over here.
No. If I had to go over the middle.
We talked about those 2 times you caught a ball over the middle.
Do I need to bring up some film, some video, some tape?
We may need to break down some video, actually.
I'm not afraid to go over the middle, but I'm not going to take a hit if I don't have to take a hit.
Milt, you and I have talked about this many times. The first thing out of my mouth when I saw Weston Dressler take that hit was that was unnecessary. Weston, you didn't need to take that hit. I hope you're okay.
Right.
I hope that you come back and play soon. But they're paying you a lot of money in Winnipeg, and guess what? They're not paying you to run a DB over in the middle of the field when you are a yard and a half from the sideline. You're not getting paid for that.
How much of this being the first game with the emotion, playing for the Bombers the first time, it is basically the second series of the ball game.
He wants to be able to bam and get up and
setting the tone. And we talked about that. It was kind of like last night. When Argonauts won the coin toss and they elected to defer to the second half, I'm thinking, Ricky Ray's healthy. You got the big 3 receivers with Hazleton, Elliott, and Gurley. I'm thinking, man, get the offense on the field, push the ball down the field, and be aggressive and set the tone. I think that's what Weston Dressler was trying to do offensively.
Well, to take the hit or not to take the hit, you guys could debate that for a while. When it comes to another safety issue, though, and that is playing with lightning above, no one's going to fool around with that. That's why we're in a delay right now. Let's get an update as we head back to Winnipeg now. Midway through the first quarter with the Alouettes leading at 3-0. Back to Rod and Dwayne, guys.
All right, thank you so much, guys. With Bomber President Wade Miller, these are things that you never hope happen during a season opener, but I think there was a thought earlier today that this type of weather was in the area.
Yeah, we're in Winnipeg, and sometimes you're going to get some thunderstorms roll in, and it shouldn't be that long, hopefully, and we want to make sure everybody's safe, the players and our fans, and look forward to getting back to football.
All right, and we'll take advantage of this opportunity to talk a little football, and especially the Bombers offseason, a busy one for you guys.
Very busy. Free agency was very busy right after the Grey Cup here. It was a great celebration, and then right into free agency. And, you know, Kyle and Mike did a great job and bring back Coach LaPolice, and, you know, really excited about the year.
As a former player, and you know this market well, Wade, and you know what you've tried to build here the last couple of years, especially the frustration that you had to deal with, mostly due to injuries as well, to your main guy, your quarterback, the last couple of years. How important was free agent time? How important was this offseason to this team to turn things around?
Extremely important, and, you know, we needed to you know, change what was going on, and I think that's what Kyle did, and Mike, and brought in some leaders and players that not only on the field during the games, but in practice every day. And you just see it every day in practice, just how these guys work and how hard they're, you know, striving to get out there and make it a, you know, a win every time we step on the field at Investors.
Is there any one of these acquisitions that you were maybe most excited about?
You know what? I'm excited about every one of them. So we just want to start winning. So each one of them brings something different, and I think that you know, when you look at how that roster's changed in that period of time, it's pretty amazing.
You can go out and get players, though, in your offseason, and, you know, maybe even in your wildest imagination, you know that you've got a hometown product.
Yes.
And Andrew Harris.
Yes.
And his willingness to come back, because a lot of players, quite frankly, won't come back to there because of a lot of pressure.
Yep.
But this is a kid who wanted to do that.
He sure did, and you know, he's a great kid, and he's not a kid anymore, and he's a veteran, and Andrew Harris is going to make such a difference on the field and off the field in this community, and, you know, he's going to be an impact player for us, and, you know, he brings something special, and he's just a, you know, special athlete, and, you know, what he can do running with the ball, catching and blocking, and, you know, he's an all-around back that we look forward to having.
Now, Wade, you're a Winnipeg guy who played his entire career here with the Bombers. Was there any advice that you gave Andrew about playing at home?
I can assure you I gave Andrew no advice at all. You know, he's a professional, and he comes to work every day, and, you know, just like the rest of every one of those free agents, the work ethic that they have when they show up for practice is impressive. So, you know, we look forward to watching Andrew and all the success he's going to have this year.
A lot of things happening, you know, within your fan base, Bomber Nation as well. An exciting night because you've also put the Ring of Honor up, and
we have.
Chris Walby's going to be the first guy up there.
Yeah, you know, special night here. You know, putting the Ring of Honor up and having Chris Walby, and, you know, he symbolizes what it means to be a Winnipeg football you know, teammate. I, you know, played with him for a long time, and, you know, he is the epitome of Bomber football, and it's just going to be great to honor him at halftime.
Well, Wade, thanks for your time. I know you got that walkie-talkie going, and I think we're hearing about 10 minutes right now before we get started. I know the sun peaked out, but again, with lightning in the area, you have to be cautious, quite obviously.
That's right, and we look forward to getting the game going, so thank you, guys.
All right, thanks to Wade Miller for joining us. So about 10 minutes, guys, it looks like, from here in Winnipeg as we send it back to you.
Thank you, Rod. So as we await that, we'll have a chance to talk about a few other things in the league, including the first game for Mike Riley and the Edmonton Eskimos, the defending Grey Cup champions, who've also undergone some change heading into a new year. Stick around. It is midway through the first quarter. The Alouettes lead it in a weather delay, 3-0 over the Blue Bombers. This is Friday Night Football on TSN.
Mike Riley, quarterback, Edmonton Eskimos.
The pump fake, and lets it fly. Has his man. It's a Darius. It's a touchdown.
I'll tell you what, Mike Riley's kind of the man.
I love hearing the crowd when you're on the road. I love the crowd being noisy, and I love it even more when you shut them up. That's what I love about football.
Riley over the middle and wide open. Bowman. Bowman gets away. He'll score. Wow. Couple of minuses on that play.
We are ready for the 103rd Grey Cup.
Tap on 3. 1, 2, 3. Tap.
I love that. I love it. 380. 380 hot.
Looking for Darius Bowman. Touchdown. On the money to his favorite target. Edmonton Eskimos. 2015 Grey Cup champs.
Hey, we did it. We freaking did it, man.
Colliding riding with the Edmonton Eskimos in the 103rd Grey Cup. Burris dumps it off. That's a touchdown pass. Over the middle, touchdown. Stunning start. Burris threw up a duck there, and it's intercepted. Riley the throw. On the money to his favorite target. Riley throws, open man, end zone, touchdown. Lynch comes in on third down, plunging, touchdown. Here comes Heat. Burris can't get it away, and he is dropped. And they are the city of champions again, Edmonton Eskimos.
Back at our CFL studio, we're in a weather delay in Winnipeg midway through the first quarter. It's the Bombers trailing Montreal 3-0, and I understand in a few minutes we'll be able to get back to that game. In the meantime, back with the guys to set up tomorrow's doubleheader, a Grey Cup rematch with Ottawa at Edmonton. Jason Moss was the OC of the Red Blacks last year. Now he's the head coach. Our pal Mike Benavides, the defensive coordinator, assistant head coach with that team as well, leaving the studio as Paul Lapalisse did to go to Winnipeg. So this is interesting, Matty, this whole dynamic now with the change the Eskimos have gone through defending Grey Cup champs going against the team they beat in the Grey Cup last year.
Yeah, and I loved watching Mike Riley assimilate into Steve McAdoo's offense for a couple of seasons and watch the transformation. And I think I'm going to like watching him do that with Jason Moss even more. I know Moss and the general manager, Ed Hervey, have a special relationship, and I think it's a great hire for the Eskimos moving forward. But I'm watching that connection there between Mike Riley and Jason Moss. Two very similar type of leaders when they played the game. And I think it's going to be some good synergy right there with an offense that is still loaded and a defense that is still loaded. And this team's primed to, you're always a champion until somebody beats you. And to go out there and defend it and play each game like it's a fresh start is their objective. And I think Mike Riley certainly left things off in a great way last year, undefeated and one out. It's going to be a thrilling game tomorrow night to watch Ottawa and Edmonton go at it once again.
You know, Jason Moss, obviously leaving Ottawa, going to Edmonton, is going to be a subplot to all this. Obviously, he doesn't get on the field. He's not playing.
And Elizondo taking over from Moss in that role as well.
Right. So that's interesting to watch. I could tell you that the dynamic in the locker room in Edmonton has changed. Because not only is Chris Jones gone, and we know what a huge presence he is, he's a defensive guy. Mm-hmm. And you guys will remember what that was like to have a head coach who's a defensive guy or an offensive guy, right, like Jason Moss. And then you had the very few who were truly neutral. But to go from a football team whose identity is defense, where the head man is focused on defense to now the head man being focused on offense will change the dynamic in that locker room.
You don't think Benny, Coach Benavides, our good friend, you don't think that he's aware of that too and may be able to curtail that type of
Jason Moss has to find a way to give some space to Mike Benavides.
Yeah.
Benavides has been around the league a long time, very respected coach. But you can be threatened by that as a first-year head coach. Make no mistake, Jason Moss.
DNA.
Well, for his sake, I hope it's not.
No, I don't think it is.
You know it. Coaches can be territorial. So hopefully they have found a way to readjust the balance so that championship spirit can prevail, notwithstanding the change.
So you think it needs to be like two separate teams? Okay, Mike is the head coach of the defense, and I'm the head coach of the offense.
I just think the team has to know that they've got one head coach.
Okay.
I know that there are teams where they've got a head coach, D coordinator, and then there's offense, right? You got to be the coach of the whole team. And I think Chris Jones learned that as he went through with Edmonton.
And what you're telling people, and they may not know because they hadn't been behind the scenes and in those offices and in charge of a club before, that dynamic is real. What you talked about earlier in the show before the game started about Noel Thorpe, and him, wanting to go to Edmonton, then being kiboshed and had to go back to Montreal, which we know there was a tiff going on there. They've got to get over that professionally in that locker room, as the Edmonton Eskimos are I'm not saying there's anything going on there. I'm just saying that that's a dynamic that is real and that it comes into play oftentimes above and beyond the players in winning and losing on the field. You got to get out of the locker room and philosophies moving forward.
Yep. Well, they are the defending Grey Cup champions. They take on the team that they beat in Winnipeg last November. That'll be interesting. That's one of the games in our doubleheader tomorrow. Now, the other ones, you talk about head coaching. This dynamic couldn't be any more diverse. You got Dave Dickinson finally getting the keys from John Hufnagel. He's the head coach of the Calgary Stampeders. He and Wally
Going
Buono
against
won a
his
Grey Cup
mentor,
together. And,
yes.
well, they did actually a couple of times, in 98 with Calgary, and they did in 2006 with the BC Lions. He's going up against Wally now, who is back, Milt, after being just a GM for the last 5 years since winning the Grey Cup in 2011. It'll be interesting to see Stampeders and BC get it.
It's going to be very interesting. And the story has been Wally. We forgot all about Dave Dickinson coaching, being a first-time head coach in his first game, because it's all been about Wally coming back, who hadn't coached since he won that Grey Cup. But Wally's success is going to depend on what Jonathan Jennings does. You know, we saw him last year. He had some great games. He had up and downs, more ups and downs. But they're looking for him to make that big step. They gave him that contract extension, gave him some decent money. So they're looking to him to be that guy. But it's going to be very interesting to see what he can do. They really struggled last year. Yeah, they made the playoffs, but we saw what happened once they made the playoffs. They didn't deserve to be in the playoffs the way they played in that playoff game. So it's going to be a lot going into it. Calgary Stampeders, we know what type of team they are. Every single year, they just seem to refuel. And then they have Bo Levi Mitchell at quarterback. They lost their best receiver, but they brought in Pakari Grant from Calgary. I don't think he's a from Hamilton, but he's a pretty good receiver. So I don't think they'll miss a beat regardless who they have within their players.
I can't wait to see Wally Buono on the sidelines again. One of the things that they say about Wally is, oh, he's too old. He's out of touch with the younger generation.
Mm-hmm.
How does Wally Buono talk to a 22-year-old guy from Alabama?
I'll tell you how.
How?
He lets his coordinators do their thing. Kahari Jones, Mark Washington, and Marcelo Simmons. And those are three young coaches that are his coordinators, special teams, offense, and defense, and those guys communicate.
Mm-hmm.
Wally just continues to manage the team and projects his thoughts and how he wants it to be run. Those guys go out there and make sure that the players understand that and speak one language.
Wally is a master puppeteer. I mean, the one thing his 23 years as a head coach has taught him is how to move all the pieces, get guys doing, like you talked about, use his assistant coaches to, if there's some dirty work that needs to be done, sometimes you need to get your coaches to do your dirty work for you.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's part of the job.
Yeah. Hey, and sometimes you pull a guy over and say, hey, go get up in this guy's you-know-what, you know, and take him down a notch and make an example of him. And that happens. That happens even at the professional level. You get called out.
Absolutely. So a really interesting conclusion to week one in the CFL with a doubleheader coming up tomorrow. Of course, we still got a game to play and continue in Winnipeg. But tomorrow, Red Blacks, Eskimos, the Grey Cup rematch. That starts the doubleheader at 7 Eastern, followed by the Stamps and the Lions, Dickinson versus Buono. One of the many headliners there. That'll be, of course, on TSN. Going to head back and get an update now from Winnipeg in a weather delay midway through the first quarter. Back to Rod Black.
All right, we're supposed to be football broadcasters, not weather forecasters. We can tell you that our earlier reports of 10 minutes are a little erroneous. It's going to be probably more like 30 minutes. Then they're going to warm up for another 10 minutes. Happy to be joined by the commissioner, Jeffrey Orridge, of the Canadian Football League, probably under better circumstances. You've had a lot of challenges in your first season and a half as a commissioner. I don't think you've had something like this.
Well, one of the things you can't control is the weather.
There you go.
Everybody thinks that the commissioner does have a magic wand and he can control anything, anytime, and all he has to do is wave it. One of the things we can't control is the weather, along with a few other things, but we won't talk about those.
Well, it's raining now, and of course, obviously with that lightning strike, caution for the fans, for the players, the safety, that's paramount right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're in direct contact with the National Weather Service, so we get updates, and we're just following the recommended protocol for everybody's safety.
Okay, well, as you said, we can't control the weather, but you do get to control the direction of the league a little bit. A few changes heading into this 2016 season. What are some of the things you're looking forward to?
So some of the great things that have happened already, I mean, if anybody was able to either attend or view yesterday's kickoff, where we kicked off the season with Toronto, it was an amazing experience, right? It was a brand new field. It's not only a new ownership and a new management group, but a brand new field, a brand new experience, and part of which was the whole tailgating experience, which had never happened before in Toronto. So it really brought the fans in.
Can a commissioner tailgate?
The commissioner can view the tailgating.
Okay, I just wondered.
The commissioner can interact with the tailgaters. But no, I can't drink on the job.
Okay. But I heard it was great. I mean, by all accounts and what we saw last night, it was a a successful opening to BMO Field.
It was really a successful opening, and you know, it's just the beginning, and it's just the first step, but it's a step in the right direction. And I think that momentum will carry through for the rest of the league as well, not just in Toronto.
Again, we're in a weather delay here in Winnipeg, probably another 20 minutes or so, and then the players will warm up. So lots of time with you. A couple of hot button topics I want to ask you about. Drug testing. Back in the Canadian Football League, there was no testing last year. How much of a challenge was that to reinstate drug testing in the CFL, and where are you with it?
Yeah, well, it was regrettable that it took this long to get there. Something that is necessary, that is important on so many different levels. I think the most important thing is to make sure that the players' health, safety, and welfare is being protected. So that's number one. That's job one, and understanding how detrimental performance-enhancing drugs can be and are. So we wanted to make sure that we sent a strong message to the people who are already in the league that there are no shortcuts. Just as importantly, for the people who are trying to enter the league, that there's no substitute for hard work. And lastly, and probably paramount in my mind, is to send a message to youth, to make sure that they understand, once again, that there are no shortcuts and there's no getting around hard work. And the only way that you're going to get into this league and should be involved in sport at all is doing it the right way. So it's important to preserve the integrity of the league and also just the health and safety of individuals.
I know you've also had some changes regarding the officiating of games, and particularly with the replay system. Maybe you could take us through some of those.
Yeah, no, it's great. So, you know, dovetailing on health and safety, we've made some rule changes, peel back blocks and push blocks. We understand that those things can be particularly dangerous, so we've eliminated that. The other thing that we've done is we've put an injury spotter in the booth. Mm-hmm. So in the command center that has a view of all 24 athletes on the field, and if there's somebody who looks like they're in distress, they can radio down to the official. The official can stop play, assess the situation, and if it warrants taking that player off the field, bring him over, have him looked at by medical staff and do an assessment. And in addition to that, in addition to our regular protocols, we're implementing a KD test, which is the King Devitt test, which actually measures eye movement and speed and language for a better assessment tool and better protocols. And then obviously treatment.
And those are things, again, like as a commissioner in the second year of your term here, that you probably were looking at last year in your first year saying, well, hey, these are probably things that we have to corral down the road.
Yeah, absolutely. And to do it sooner rather than later. Mm-hmm. And I think the hallmark of what the CFL is about is once we recognize the situation, addressing it immediately. And that's what myself and my team went about doing. Everything from drug testing to tampering. So we put a new anti-tampering policy in place, which was, I think, long awaited and perhaps long overdue, to make sure once again that the playing field was level. And that's the idea. We want to make sure that we preserve the integrity of the game and also give the fan the experience that they deserve. So whether it's on the field or off the field. So we're doing things and augmenting, our fan engagement online with a newly renovated and updated website, a mobile app now. We just did a kind of a historic deal with DraftKings where there's fantasy gaming now, free-to-play fantasy gaming, which will give more touch points for our fans and allow them to just experience the game in different ways.
And, you talk about a number of those initiatives really geared towards bringing the younger generation of fans to the Canadian Football League.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's imperative, that we need to bring that next generation of fans into the game so they can enjoy and experience the same kind of passion and emotion and excitement that our avid fans and the more mature fans have done for generations and generations.
After 1 year on the job, what have you learned most about yourself, this league, and the future of football?
Wow, that's a very big
We got a lot of
question.
time here because, and if you have any pictures of your winter vacation, we'll take those too. We're in a bit of a delay.
Well, I can look at it from an existential standpoint, or I can look at it from a practical standpoint. I think one of the things that was a realization for me is that the commissioner does not have a magic wand. and that it takes working with the Board of Governors, it takes working with the Players Association, it takes working with the fans and the media in terms of listening really attentively. You've got to be an active listener, and I think my first year was about a lot of listening and learning, preparation, planning, and now it's time for action, right? So you have really three kinds of relationships. You have a conversation for relationships, you have a conversation for possibilities, and then you have a conversation for action. And I think we're at that action stage, and that's what we've been doing both on the field and off the field.
We appreciate your time. We know you're a busy guy, and it's a challenge like tonight. I didn't think you'd had to take up anything to do with meteorological services or anything like that, but we're going to plow through this. We're about 20 minutes away. Commissioner, thank you so much. Great seeing you.
Always a pleasure.
Commissioner Jeffrey Orridge of the CFL, as we move closer to what we hope will be a resumption of this game in about 20 minutes as we send it back to you guys in the studio.
Thank you, Rod. And if the commissioner did have a magic wand, well, I got an idea. Just wave it up into the skies and stop this now so we can start playing football again. It's not the rain, it's the threat of lightning, and that's why they've delayed it, with the Alouettes leading at 3-0. We're going to talk about the BMO experience last night, the Argos and the Ticats, when we come back here in Friday Night Football. As we await resumption of the game in Winnipeg, have a look at last night's opener in Toronto, BMO Field, the inaugural game, Ticats Argonauts.
That
He's
I'm not
offended.
out there judging that contest.
Tailgating there. And yeah, fans really enjoying it, as the Argos definitely received a warm welcome to their new home.
In support of their chart-topping album, Hello. Here today to perform our...
Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
Lots of pomp and ceremony. There's the Rocket, 1991. Remember him? Joe Theismann, 71. Damon Allen, Grey Cup in 04. And yes, Pinball Clements won as a head coach. Gotta love his energy. Won as a player too, of course. And the toss of the coin against the Hamilton Tiger Cats to get it started. Chad Owens playing his first game and against a team with which he spent 6 years, great years too. Jeremiah Mazzoli dropping back. He even won for the former Argo. Beats his man just off the fingertips. Ticats forced to punt. However, on their next possession,
2 and 5 without Calaros. 2nd and 10. Mazzoli flushed, throwing deep, man open, and it's a touchdown.
Isaiah Green had it, but no, Fantuz catches it. 39-yarder, 12-0 Ticats after one. Mazzoli looking good in this game. Just over 7 minutes to play in the half. Argos down 18-0. Ricky Ray sacked by Simone Lawrence. Did he have a game? Led to a punt. Argos looking to cut into the Ticats lead before the end of the quarter. Lawrence gets to Ray again. This time he forces a fumble. He was just all over the place. Argos down 18-6 at the half. Third quarter. Cue Simone again.
The ball second. 2nd and 15. Ray has a tip, and it's Simone Lawrence again! Exclamation point! Touchdown!
Yeah, set up by John Chick with the deflection there of the Ray pass, and Simone Lawrence, 37 yards of the house. And Hamilton up 25-6, under 6 to play in the third. First and goal from the 1, and Ray lobbing it for Fidel Hazelton in the corner. So an Argo touchdown. Finally, first TD for the Argos at BMO Field, and cuts Hamilton's lead to 12. Ensuing kickoff now, it is Brandon Banks losing the football. Momentum suddenly shifting the Argos' way. And the Argos get that ball. It just comes out before Banks hits the ground. And it sets up another touchdown for the Argonauts. And then Hamilton comes right back. Chad Owens in the end zone, wide open. 19-yard score. What a sweet return to Toronto for Chad Owens after so many great years there. Fired up indeed. And then an injury, Jermaine Gabriel, hit by Matt Black, and a very concerning moment in this game. We can tell you now, fortunately, Jermaine Gabriel, who left the field, was giving the thumbs up, a great sign, and has passed all his tests. And as I say, the news coming out that he is fine. That is great news indeed. Aside from the game itself, not great news for the Toronto Argonauts in their opener. They did lose at 42-20. Hamilton Tiger Cats and Jeremiah Mazzoli looking very impressive in this game. We wondered about how they would be without Zach Collaros, but a good start for the Ticats. But as far as the atmosphere goes, I mean, most of the hype, understandably, was about a new home for the Argonauts, even though they didn't win the game. Do you think they won the night as an organization?
Yes, but I'm going to say that with a bit of a proviso in that the fans, I think, were treated to a football experience like they've never had before, but not the one that they need to have to get them coming again. Because look at Ottawa. And I'm reminded, last night reminded me so much of Ottawa 2 years ago. Beautiful new stadium.
You've done a lot of games out there.
I have, and I've had a chance to see that progression over the last couple of years. 2 years ago, Ottawa, bad football team. Not only were they a bad football team, they were a boring football team to watch. Fans filling the stadium, wanting to have fun, wanting to cheer and party, and there's nothing to cheer about. That was a little bit like that last night until the Argos scored those two late touchdowns, and there was like, what, 4 minutes of excitement in that stadium last night? 4 minutes. People there for 3 hours. There was 4 minutes of fans really getting into it. The Argos start to win. They start giving fans something to cheer about. That will be an incredible place to see a football game. But the Hamilton Tiger Cats spoiled the party. They came in there and stuck it to the Argos and spoiled the party.
Yeah, I think they won the night, Rod, to answer your question. I do, and I think there was more than 4 minutes of excitement there. Maybe not for the football team, but what was generated for the fans and the experience in general, I think all night was so far above and beyond what they were getting at Rogers Center. And I think that is a huge step in the right direction. I experienced it, and I thought it was fabulous. I had chill bumps up and down all night, and I was absolutely excited for the fan base because not only we talked a lot about the players and the importance of the team and having a place to call their home, it's about these people. It's about the fans and enjoying the experience, and they got to enjoy the experience. That's what they developed in Ottawa. As that fan experience, and he talked to Jeff Hunt, and he understands it, and he understands it better than most as an owner in this league, and I think that
in stadium experience.
That's right, and he told me verbatim that he pulled his kids in a group of their friends, on a regular basis, just to try to get in touch with what they're looking for, and he catered to that, and it worked for him, win or lose, the last 2 years, and winning does help. I think Toronto is on the right path here, and I experienced it last night.
Well,
I was happy.
The football experience for the fans was excellent. We got there like, 2 o'clock, and there was stuff going on from 2 o'clock until we left at like 11:30. But I agree with Jock. The product on the field, you have to win. They're only going to stay there so long. I mean, the experience is great, but they want to see a winning team. And there were a lot of great things that went on. There were some good things for the Argonauts, but not overall. They have to win the game. And the thing I enjoyed the most was there was a time where the cheerleaders went out there. And then they had some of the male dancers go out with the Toronto Argonaut uniforms on.
Yeah.
The next time we're there, we're going out. We're putting on those uniforms. We're going out and dancing.
That was a great moment. I was actually I'd stopped by Jeffrey Orridge's box, the commissioner, and when that moment happened, and
he wanted to go out also and dance. Is he with us?
I wondered if he'd orchestrated it because it was a sense of fun. Right?
Yes.
That's what I think was often missing about Rogers Center.
Yes.
It wasn't a lot of fun. It was just let's just play some football and you all just sit there and enjoy it.
Ton of that going on. And
it was lots of fun.
Yeah, the Argonauts need to win because winning is fun. And people enjoy that. And that's going to happen for the Argonauts. They just got outplayed by their nemesis, the Hamilton Tiger Cats.
This is a team that was 10-8 with 4 home games on the road last year.
They're going to be fine.
I think that sort of factors into the carryover to this year. Not a great night for them on the field last night, but overall,
they just got beat by a better team last night. Hamilton in week 1. We'll see where we're at in week 18. A lot of football's got to be
I didn't have a chance to say this last night, but Ricky Ray showed that he only had 3 preseason pass attempts.
He was a little
That's
rusty,
what I saw. A very rusty quarterback. Play your veterans, coaches. That's the proof positive.
If I told you he was 26 of 36 for 281 yards, 2 touchdowns, you'd take that.
No, I would not take that performance from Ricky Ray. I don't care what the stats say.
Game 1 done. They're not back home till July 13th. By the way, I thought you said next time we're going to go tailgating, Bill. That's what I thought you were
yeah.
going to say. Yeah.
He's going to have Jello,
He
too.
said he wanted to have Jello.
They don't tailgate with Jello anymore?
Electric Jello,
as
maybe.
Yeah, maybe a little more liquid kind. Absolutely. You know, we're having a good chance to chat here because the game in Winnipeg is in a weather delay. Let's get another update. Midway through the first quarter, Alouettes leading the Bombers 3-0. Let's head back to Rod Black.
All right, thank you so much. Electric Jello they're talking about in there. Game supervisor Ken Lazaruk has told us around 10 to 15 minutes right now. So we'll see. Danny McManus, assistant general manager of the Blue Bombers, director of U.S. Scouting, Hall of Famer, old pal of ours. You probably played in a few games that have been delayed, and I'm sure you have, Dwayne, at times, but have you been through one of these like this?
Not this long. I don't think I've ever been in one. You know, I was talking on radio just a little while ago, like the most important person right now is the equipment guy, because you're asking him to look at the Doppler radar saying, all right, how much longer do we have to do this for? And because you want to be ready when they say, okay, we're going to go back out there. They don't give you much time to warm up. But it's a tough time just to sit in there and wait till you get the call. Then all of a sudden it's bang, let's go.
What about the emotion of it? Just that adrenaline, you get geared up for the start of the game. Yeah. Half a quarter in, you're sitting around.
It's going to take a while for these guys to get juiced back up again. And I don't know how much time the league gives to get back into it. But I think it's going to be important for the veterans of the ball club in that locker room say, hey, guys, when we get back out there, here are the next 5-6 plays we're going to do on defense. Okay, we were out there. We just got them back from a punt. We got to come out there 2 and out. The offense will get out there and get a drive going. So it's trying to get those things going and making sure everyone's on the same page and hit it right from the beginning when you come back on the field.
Yeah, especially opening night. Let's catch up with you now. And how much are you enjoying this role in Winnipeg?
Oh, I love it.
What exactly do you do? We know
that is a $1 million question.
No, we know what you do.
I love the chase. I love trying to find ball players that can play this great game in the Canadian Football League. And you never know when you look at a guy. You know, where is he going to fit? Where are the coaches going to put him? But you see something in him, and you say, okay, let's get him out there. Let's see what he can do, and let the coaches evaluate and see where they can put him. But the one thing I'm a glorified truck driver, in a sense. I go around from city to city, state to state, looking for ball players and try to find guys that, hey, you want to keep playing football after your college career is done? Come on up to Canada. It's a beautiful country, beautiful people, and enjoy a great game of football.
Now, I'm sure you spent a little bit of time as you've been here for training camp, et cetera, looking over some of the young guys in this year's draft class. What are some of your thoughts as a number of these guys have cracked the opening day roster?
Well, I think it's important. These guys that are coming up here are playing well. I think Kyle and Mike and Ted did a great job in the CFL draft bringing these guys up because they were ready to play. The competition level was high when they first got here from our draft class, and our guys just came right in and fit right in. I think that's what I like to see is that these guys, they're not sitting there waiting for 2 or 3 years for their chance. They're coming right now. They're letting everyone know, well, I'm going to be here. I'm going to give my best competition out there, and I want to be in that starting lineup. And all of our draft guys have been doing great.
I find it's fascinating that, you know, you're talking about that glorified truck driver thing, and I don't buy that one bit. But I do know that you find some diamonds. Maybe you can take us through a couple of players that, you know, you have to get them to a workout. How does it start that you would actually find a player and they end up in the Canadian Football League?
Well, it's more of a chase. You see a guy you like, and you want to sit there and try to get him up here as soon as you can. But usually he's not ready. You got to almost catch him when he's at that point. You know, whether it's you can see, invite him to a workout, get him to a workout, let him see what he can do. Maybe with now we got the motion going downhill to the line of scrimmage. Can he still run the route that you thought he could run standing still? And then you say, well, what do you think about coming to Canada? Well, I'm not ready yet. I still have aspirations of playing down south. So then you got to work on that. Then you got to wait for him to get cut 2 or 3 times before he finally gets to that idea that I want to come up and play.
Khalil Bass was a guy who was cut a couple times here, even as a matter of fact.
Yeah, we all saw him at different times, and it was just a matter of fitting into the right mold. And we were very lucky to get him up here on the 3rd time, which was good because he fit what we were looking for at the will linebacker spot. And now we're able to slide him into Mac. So he's one of those guys you look at, you knew he's a ball player, but where does he fit in the organization? That's kind of putting all that puzzle together. But there's a lot of great scouts out there and all over the CFL. And we cross back and forth seeing each other at different stadiums, at different practices, probably at different rest stops on the road. But it's we're all out there trying to get the same thing, try to get the best ball player for our team.
All right, and obviously D-Mac, the position near and dear to your heart, the quarterbacks. You know, one of the big ongoing themes here in Winnipeg is Drew Willie and how to best keep Drew Willie healthy. You've had a chance to watch the offense under Paul LaPolice. How do you see Drew and Paul fitting together?
I think it fit well. I mean, Paul likes to do a lot of movement with the receivers and stuff and get the ball out of the quarterback's hands. I think that's important for Drew to get to his reads quickly, get the ball out of his hands. Because I'm still living on the fact that If you don't have the ball, they can't hit you. So get rid of the ball. Just be the point guard out there. Distribute to the guys that we have on the perimeter and let them do all the work.
Well, the players have come back on the field. We're here. They're going to warm up for about 10 minutes and get right back to it. Talk about a Drew Willie, though, obviously for this organization, and you know how important that position is. I'm sure you've had a lot of conversations with Drew in the past about staying healthy as well.
Yeah, it's a grind. Any starting quarterback in the Canadian Football League would tell you to go 18 games is a tough deal. It's not just what you do before training camp. I mean, you're going to do everything you can. Become in your best shape right here before training camp. Now, how do I maintain that shape all the way through the season? You got to take care of your body in the weight room. It sounds weird, a quarterback in the weight room, but you got to do that. You got to take care of yourself in the training room. You got to do that, but also on game day, you got to take care of yourself. If it's not there, throw it away. I always thought the idea that a punt was an offensive play. And there's nothing wrong with throwing the ball away, letting your punt team come on, and hopefully your defense can change the field length, and then you get out there and you're already in scoring zone.
And D-Mac, I know probably next up for you, maybe a little bit of downtime post-training camp, but the NFL camps are just around the corner, and you start the tour. Do you know your itinerary yet for those?
I know my teams. Now I just got to have those teams work with my itinerary and go from there. But really, I try to line up the nice food spots, which I'll have to get
Amen.
you. I know that. I know
that.
that's hitting your heart right there. But it's kind of find the little different spots to go to in all the different cities. I don't go to the chains. I try to find little mom and pop spots, and then I write little notes on that, though. So I'm recruiting that as well.
Scouting the hot spots.
Everything I can.
That's what U.S. scouting is all about, isn't it?
Well, we keep that between us here.
So as you see them come out, if this was you right now and you were Drew Willie, what would you be thinking? What you're trying to get back in your head as a quarterback getting ready for, and Kevin Glenn as well, getting ready for the resumption of this game, which they say is going to be about 5 minutes?
Yeah, I think just getting back onto the field, getting the balls. Are they dry? Are they wet? Some of these guys are wearing gloves too, or are their gloves dry? But just getting the arm loose again. I mean, and getting the body moving up. Try to get a nice little bead of sweat working up before the first play. And then focus on your wristband, what's there, what plays you're thinking you're going to run. Kevin's going to come in. It's going to be 1st and 10 down in his own zone. How are we going to get out of here? What's the next 3 or 4 plays? And just get ready for that when that happens.
And no doubt a noted scrambler like yourself would want to loosen up the legs a bit as well.
No, usually I'm sitting down on the bench letting these guys all do that stuff. Because I don't want to pull anything, But you always got to. You just want to get a bead of sweat doing something, whether it's doing small drop backs, miniature little drops, and just getting the feet moving so you're ready to go. Because it's going to be live bullets, 100 miles an hour when they blow that whistle.
And they will do that shortly. D-Mac, always great to catch up with you. See you down the road, my brother.
Always good to be here, guys. Good luck.
Danny McManus.
Keep it rolling.
And we are almost set. Warm-up will continue here. When we come back, we will be playing football. Back to the studio. Here's Rod and the guys.
Thank you, Rod. Danny Mac. What a beauty. Just a classic, absolutely. Hey, great to see Mo Westerman, the Bombers, the Alouettes back out, ready to resume Montreal football midway through the first quarter. We'll be back. Friday Night Football is finally back.
Welcome back to CFL football.
A new season means a new look for the Alouettes and the Blue Bombers after a disappointing showing for both teams last season. Big changes to their rosters have them both hungry for a fresh start.
Duron Carter does it again.
Tonight, the Alouettes will look to veteran quarterback Kevin Glenn and the awaited return of Duron Carter to turn the franchise around.
Would not be denied.
In Winnipeg, the Bombers squad is buzzing as all eyes are on Andrew Harris and the major addition of Weston Dressler. It's the Blue Bombers and the Alouettes on TSN next. What I should say is Friday Night Football begins again because the game got started and got about halfway through the first quarter with Montreal leading at 3-0 when there was a weather delay. Lightning in the skies. They were just about set to resume. Rod Smith along with Jock Climie, Matt Dunnigan, and Milt Stegall. By the way, saw that tease Weston Dressler. He has been injured. He will not return after a head-on-head collision with Ethan Davis of the Alouettes. So Dressler is out of this game. Now of concern for the players on both sides, Milt. They got to start a game after nearly an hour-long weather delay. How difficult is this for players?
It's difficult because you have to get yourself ready not only physically, but mentally. You think about it, you usually get to the game like, what, 2-3 hours before the game, and you get yourself ready, you get tape, you get mentally ready, you put on your music, whatever you're doing. Now you have to try to do that in what, maybe half or a quarter of the time. And the one player I'm really concerned about, Andrew Harris. You remember, he tweaked his hamstring a few days ago, so I'm for sure he was at the game 4 or 5 hours getting it together. Now he has to try to warm that up again. Hopefully he can get that going because they need him in this game.
That's my concern as well. Coming into the ball game, talked about it. You start talking to Hammy 2-3 days before a game. I don't care what kind of hype or how jacked up you are to play in your first game coming back to Winnipeg. That doesn't mean nothing if you're sitting out for the first 4 or 5 weeks of the season with a really pulled hamstring. And, I hope that doesn't happen. But that is a concern of mine coming to this game. And with this weather delay, you can bet that Andrew Harris is logging some time on that bike, stationary bike on the sidelines right now, trying to get hot and lathered, because that's not a good situation for him at all to have to stop after he's already been warmed up and go again with that hamstring. I agree with what both of you just said. I was just thinking of this from the coaching standpoint. If this was further into the game when you had an hour-long delay, I mean, this has been sort of third quarter. Remember, teams aren't showing much of what they're doing in preseason, right? So you're going to see a whole lot in the first couple quarters that you hadn't been anticipating. It would be a great opportunity for coaches right now to make some adjustments. They'd be tempted with an hour in the middle of the game. They'd be tempted to redesign the playbook. They could have installed a whole new system. They could have, and they'd be tempted to. But they've only had a small taste of it, and they're probably pouring over what they do have to see what can be changed. Golden opportunity for those coaches to get in there and tweak things and get guys dialed in a little bit. Yeah, I think it could work for them. Yeah, and coaches have to take care of their players emotionally as well during this situation. I mean, the good coaches do, right? That's where the trainers come into play. It's very true, right? It's a whole team that is you're relying on the whole team to get everybody peaking as they come out of the locker room, like you talked about. There were coaches who didn't believe that was their job. I never liked that. I never liked that coach who said, hey, you take care of your own emotions. It's not their job, You're dealing with grown men. You're a grown man, Job. Everybody's got the way of getting there. You're a grown man. It's the ball boy's job, as far as I'm concerned, as well. It's everybody's job to get you peaking when you come out of the locker room. That's your own job, Jock. I'm glad I didn't play with you, Mills. I'm glad I didn't either. You would have never had any catches playing with me, Jock. Everybody's got their own way of getting jacked up. And there's some guys that don't come to the ballpark 2-3 hours before. They come like 20 minutes before. 4 or 5 hours before the game.
I get psyched up every time before I talk to you guys. I wasn't counting on talking to you for an hour. I'm kind of tired of it, no offense. Pat me on my back. Football I can't get up Head on back to Rod Black and Dwayne Ford.
Soft, Jock Kleinman. You're soft. Soft as hospital cotton.
Hey, listen to OB.
Out of bounds.
Welcome back to our regularly scheduled program. An hour-long delay here in Winnipeg because of the weather that blew through, the lightning that was in the area. This is what the forecast is saying. It's still a little iffy in parts, but we have clear skies in about 40 minutes, so it should be a great night for football. Almost a great night and a half. With an update now on Weston Dressler's situation, let's go down to Sarah Orlesky.
Well, Rod, there isn't a lot of information regarding Dressler's situation right now, but as Rod Smith mentioned, he is done for the game. He is currently undergoing the concussion protocol.
All right, thank you so much. That's certainly not the way that Weston Dressler wanted to begin his Blue Bomber career. 3 catches, 22 yards, and then the hit, the collision with Ethan Davis, the rookie corner. So Mike O'Shea without one of his prize acquisitions for the rest of this game. As we continue on here now. Barely started here in Winnipeg before that lightning crept into the area. 3-0 Montreal. 6:53 now to go first quarter. After an hour-long delay, Kevin Glenn out of the locker room, and it looks like we had motion on the line. And Dwayne, this has to be tough for any. Did you ever go through something like this?
I'm sure I did.
It happens.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. At times during your career, for whatever reason. I mean,
Montreal,
whether it's
number 69, 5-yard penalty.
Whether it's a delay like this due to the weather, whether it's a delay, a long injury delay, all sorts of situations where you're shut down for a while and essentially everybody has to warm up all over again. And I honestly believe that the physical part of warming up again is easy. You have sort of a plan, you follow it. But as the guys talked about, it's the emotional part, getting psyched up to get rolling.
Glenn dishes it out once again. And this time, Nick Lewis makes his first catch of 2016. Lewis, 14th season now, climbing the list, all-time receivers and catches and yards. Well, as you mentioned, though, here's the thing. In any job, in any sport, be prepared. Anything can happen. And it does. And so now 2nd and 11 for the Alouettes. From the Winnipeg 14, Glenn with time now. Zips it over the middle to Sammy Giguère, and Giguère has a first down up near the Montreal 30.
Kevin Glenn did a nice job just shuffling to his left a little bit to buy time. The Bombers had a twist on that was taking Bass the other way, long way around. It opens up the offensive left side of this formation, which created wide open passing lanes for Kevin Glenn.
Giguère back home again in Montreal, playing with the Alouettes, opening their season tonight in Winnipeg. Glenn now heaves it deep for Duron Carter. Jump ball, and once again, great matchup with Chris Randall, and Randall wins it this time. Ball just hung up a little too long.
Well, we saw this a little bit in the preseason game last week. The faith that Kevin Glenn has in Duron Carter to win jump balls.
Winnipeg, number 43. 5-yard penalty, remains first down.
Penalty against the Bombers, so they'll have a redo here. First down and 5 now for the Alouettes.
You look back at that play, Rod, and there was no separation. There was no indication right off the bat that Duron Carter was going to be open on that play. But Kevin Glenn knows, put it in the right spot. Duron Carter can get it where DBs can't.
Handing it off now to Terrell Sutton. Spins and crashes close to the first down marker. Terrell Sutton coming off a season where he won the rushing title over Andrew Harris on the last day of the season. Won it by 20 yards with 42 fewer carries.
Yeah, Sutton having missed a few games last season. Great race, as you said, right down to the final weekend between Terrell Sutton, Jerome Messam, and Andrew Harris, all three finishing up with over 1,000 yards in 2015.
First and 10 again, they bring the heat. Glenn lets it fly. And again, Duron Carter, who's wrestled to the turf by another newcomer, Kevin Fogg.
We talk about what Terrell Sutton did with the football last year. Here doing a nice job getting involved in the pass protection scheme. He's got to move across that formation. Does a nice job picking up Mo Leggett coming off the edge. And again, that's opening up the passing lane, a key block right where Kevin Glenn is looking to throw that rock.
Sutton stays in the backfield with the veteran Kevin Glenn. 4 receivers to the right. Glenn now downfield quickly for S.J. Green behind cover. Bruce Johnson brings him down, but S.J. Green was wide open on an island, and Kevin Glenn spotted him perfectly for a 39-yard strike.
Well, what you're going to see is with this cluster of receivers, it's going to create confusion. 4 guys coming from essentially the same release point. You're going to see S.J. Green just gets lost. Bruce Johnson is late to react after everybody else sorts out the other 3 receivers. Johnson is left scrambling to try and pick up the 4th guy. By that point, Green is open down the seam.
Just over 3 minutes to go, opening quarter. A game delayed an hour by inclement weather in the area. Glenn going end zone, looking for Stafford, trying to lay out, and he couldn't get to it.
Well, last season, this was Kenny Stafford territory. Guy who had a breakout season with the Edmonton Eskimos last year after being traded for Fred Stamps. Alouettes found themselves looking for a veteran to fit into a slightly younger receiving corps. Bill Stafford, but Jim Pop told him at the time, you know, you're going to be a free agent after the year, and we'd be more than happy to have you back if it works out that way.
Glenn again, and a penalty flag flies as he finds Stafford on an inside route. Looks like it's going to be against the Blue Bombers. So this drive will continue.
Illegal contact on a receiver. Winnipeg, number 23. Penalty is declined. First down, Montreal.
Right into the red zone.
Going to keep an eye on the corner here. Kevin Fogg picks up Sam Giguère and just rides him a little bit too long past that 5 yards. That's what's going to earn him that illegal contact flag.
1st and 10. Glenn now looking to his right, looking end zone, and Kevin Fogg in his first CFL game had an interception in his mitts. Couldn't hang on. Guy who's replacing Johnny Adams on that corner in his first game, and Glenn was looking touchdown here.
Well, this is a nice job. The key play here is Julian Posey, the halfback, a guy who's not normally a box player, but because of the formation, he lines up inside, recognizes he's got to be the contained guy. The pressure that he supplies forces Kevin Glenn to hurry his throw and makes him end up off the mark with his delivery.
2nd down now. Glenn, here's the rush, gets hit, and it is picked by Randall. Chris Randall has the pick in front of Kenny Stafford. Kevin Glenn feels the heat, takes a hit, throws the pick.
Well, Randall's going to get credit for the pick, but the big assist here goes to Khalil Bass. Again, rushing the quarterback isn't just about getting sacks, it's about forcing him to make mistakes. You're going to see Bass come from depth, and he's going to have a free line to Kevin Glenn. The pressure that he supplies, the hit that he delivers, is absolutely the reason that Kevin Glenn is inaccurate with this throw. He's got to get it out of there in a hurry. Can't lead Giguère. Chris Randall closing, comes up with the turnover.
Randall, who missed 8 games last year with injury. First game of 2016 has a huge interception, and it's been quite some time since the Bomber offense has been on the field, over an hour now after the delay. So Randall has the pick. Bombers have the ball, but it's a long field. Here it is again. Right in front of Sammy Giguère, and then up and chirping with Kenny Stafford. 2nd and 7, minute to go, opening quarter. Opening night for the Bombers and the Alouettes. Drew Willie now. Here's the rush, and he's going down. Sacked in the end zone for the safety. And they are saying they're spotting him actually at the 1, so not sacked in the end zone. They are saying he actually went down, so the ball will be spotted at the 1-yard line. The Bombers likely will give up 2 anyway.
And watch the great execution on the twist here. John Bowman, defensive end, loops to the inside. Kai Hebert holds up the man on the outside. Young center, Matthias Gosen, late to react. Doesn't get back to Bowman. Age ain't nothing but a number.
It ain't nothing but a number. There he is.
Led the Canadian Football League with 19 sacks last season.
So Justin Medlock back in the end zone, very deep. Is going to give up 2 anyway. So the Bombers do get a turnover. They save a potential touchdown or a field goal, but they give up 2 as it stands anyway. So it's 5-0 now. Tomorrow we continue week 1. Rematch of the 103rd Grey Cup. The Red Blacks and the Eskimos tomorrow at Commonwealth Stadium, followed by the Calgary Stampeders and the BC Lions. You and I will be in BC Place tomorrow night. Looking forward to that matchup.
Yeah, absolutely. A couple of young guns, Bo Levi Mitchell, Jonathan Jennings. Jennings, a guy who had his welcome to the CFL moment against the Calgary Stampeders a year ago. Of course, old colleagues turned rivals, Wally Guano and Dave Dickinson, meet for the first time as head coaches, opposing head coaches.
So the Bombers offense sputters near the goal line, give up 2. 5-zip the score, final 30 seconds here. Winnipeg will kick it back to Steph Logan and the Alouettes. It's been a strange opening night, to say the least. Lightning strikes around the area. The cleared the stands. We had an hour delay, and now we're back. Two teams trying to turn it around this year. Both non-playoff teams last year. Logan now cutting back. Steph Logan. Ian Wild trying to chase him down, and Macho Harris also gives him a lick. Victor Harris, former Saskatchewan Rough Rider, right there in the middle of your picture, and Kevin Glenn brings out the offense once more.
Kevin Glenn looking no worse for wear after the big hit from Khalil Bass.
You have to think, after last year's opener for the Alouettes, keeping a quarterback healthy would be paramount tonight. If you recall, Jonathan Crompton started, went out. Dan Lefevre came in right away. He went out with injury. Opening game, lost 2 quarterbacks. Got to go to Canadian Brandon Bridge, and Rakeem Cato, of course, started his journey. Slant pattern to Carter, close to a first down, up near the Montreal 52, 8-yard pickup.
I find myself waiting for Montreal to run some sort of wheel route or a hitch and go or some kind of out and up kind of deal, as they've set things up so well with so many quick hitting passes. And they're probably getting to a point now where the Winnipeg defenders will start to anticipate that and try to jump some of those routes. May create an opportunity for the Owls to go over the top.
Terrell Sutton, who's held short of a first down on the final play of the opening quarter. One of the longest first quarters in CFL history. Almost an hour and 45 minutes because of the delay. We're glad to be back. CFL season is here. Owls and Bombers, opening night in Winnipeg. We'll continue. So finally, the first quarter comes to a conclusion. 5-0 Alouettes. Home opener for the Bombers, season opener for both teams tonight. Night 2 of the CFL season, week 1. Strange one indeed, Dwayne Ford, with the lightning delay, the weather delay. Now we're back and playing. Do you sense a bit of rhythm coming back into this game?
Yeah, well, I think
Let's
that's
hope.
exactly it. The teams are starting to find that a little bit. Again, the toughest part for football players, I would say for athletes in general, is they're such creatures of habit. You know, guys have such a routine, such a pattern in terms of the way they prepare to play. So something like this that throws off the routine, for some guys can really impact them. But it looks like everybody's right back into the swing. Everybody's warm and ready to go.
You saw Terrell Sutton being stopped, 3rd and a long yard. Jim Popp is not going to go for it right now. He brings out Boris Beatty, who is going to punt the ball back to the Blue Bombers to open this second quarter. Quincy McDuffie back near his 12-yard line. Big foot Boris Beatty, but this is not a good kick. And it just bounces out of bounds. Bombers will start near their 30, and Drew Willie returns to the field, and I'm sure hoping above hope, and especially Bomber fans hoping that Drew Willie has a successful campaign, mostly in the health department.
Yeah, absolutely. Take a look back. The injury history of Drew Willie as a Winnipeg Blue Bomber. Significant injuries each of his 2 seasons here.
He is 5 for 5 tonight. Andrew Harris peels off his first big run as a Blue Bomber. Well, one thing is for certain, the Bombers are a different team with and without Drew Willie.
Yeah, and there you see the numbers with Drew Willie, without Drew Willie. Over the course of the last couple of years. Obviously a much more competitive team with their #1 pivot in there.
Handed off again. Bit of a bobbled handoff that time to Darvin Adams. Looks like he is going to be short as well. So again, a 2 and out for this Bomber offense, and probably struggling to get some rhythm even too, because they thought they would have Weston Dressler. They had him for a couple series, and Dressler, of course, out of this game, undergoing concussion protocol, and that's a blow to the Bombers on opening night, to say the least.
Yeah, and I know the boys in the studio had a discussion about whether Dressler should have gone out of bounds or not. their feeling clearly a little different than mine. I think Weston Dressler's the kind of guy who wants to prove something to his new teammates. Wants to be a leader, and sometimes you take those risks. We mentioned Chris Randall starting in a position he didn't necessarily expect to when training camp opened. He's over on that short side corner spot. That means he's getting to see a lot of this guy. Number 89, Duron Carter. Two of them had a little exchange before the game. They've had a pretty good battle going on over there since it started. Randall winning that round. And he's got a pick to show for his efforts so far as well.
Couple of pump fakes from Kevin Glenn to Nick Lewis, who needs about 4 players to bring him down. Ever wonder what it's like to tackle a grizzly bear?
Chris Randall, former teammate of Nick Lewis's in Calgary.
Well, I'll tell you, what a leader that guy is right there. Nick Lewis, before the game, during the game, after the game. Still keeps on going. Great set of hands. Terrell Sutton, left side. He's 2nd and 3 yards, it looks like, for the Alouettes. Team that finished 6-12 last year. First time they didn't make the playoffs since they came back into the Canadian Football League.
As you see Chris Randall continuing his busy night, coming up in run support from that corner spot. Bringing down the always tough Terrell Sutton.
Out of the backfield this time. Sutton's got room on the far sideline. Knocked out of bounds near the midfield stripe, and Terrell Sutton. And now we got some rough stuff on that far side. Macho Harris into it. Steph Logan into it on the sideline after Sutton takes off after that pitch and run.
Well, I like this play from the point of view of a key breaker for the Montreal Alouettes offense. One of the things
after
with
the play,
this team.
Major foul, unnecessary roughness. Montreal, number 19. 15 yards, first down.
Montreal typically dresses at least 2, often 3 international running backs, 3 Americans at that position. They use them all a little bit differently, and the guy who will catch the most passes out of the backfield isn't Terrell Sutton, even though he plays the most snaps. Usually when they're throwing to the backs, it's usually Brandon Rutley catching the ball. So I like that as a little bit of a change-up, a little bit of a key breaker to show the defense something different. And as you saw, Sutton slipped out into the flat relatively unnoticed because it's not something the Winnipeg defense anticipated.
Rutley, key in this Alouettes offense, but scratched tonight. Not in the lineup, and there is a challenge here. Now you saw the penalty. S.J. Green was playing big brother there for Terrell Sutton. Took an unsportsmanlike penalty. And now S.J. Green and Sutton being escorted to the sideline for a moment here. S.J. Green was wondering what was going on, so there's a challenge flag. We'll find out what this is about from Kim Murphy here.
Well, obviously we don't know what's being said from here, but a pretty heated verbal exchange going on between the players as the Winnipeg huddle is basically in front of the Montreal bench at this point. Terrell Sutton took exception to something that was said as he was going towards the sidelines, and he made a beeline back towards that Winnipeg huddle. S.J. Green came and intercepted him.
Again, it was Sutton and Macho Harris originally. Then Green came in on the sideline. Officials are huddling up here. We had the commissioner, of course, during our hour-long talk show here in Winnipeg and talking about some of the changes this year and the significant changes. Video review, expanded video review possibilities in the Canadian Football League.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of those having to do with the passing game. Obviously, things like illegal contact, offensive pass interference, things that can now be that can now be reviewed. Defensive pass interference was introduced as reviewable last year. So sometimes you'll see teams, I'm sure, sort of taking a chance on throwing that flag that somewhere on the field there might be illegal contact. And so maybe Jim Pop feeling like we got a big gain and then we gave it back with the dead ball foul. Maybe we can get something back if there's a flag that can be detected, an infraction that can be detected going the other way. So we'll hopefully soon find out.
One thing we don't need anymore in this game, more of a delay. So again, we're just anticipating this challenge. Kim Murphy in conversation with Jim Pop. Players already had an hour-long delay. Now they're standing around a little more. Well, maybe we can get some clarification now.
Montreal won the challenge an aspect of the play that is not reviewable under replay rules.
So
it's a delay of game penalty, a 10-yard penalty.
There you go.
Against Montreal.
I was going to say that
first down.
With the expanded
they have one
review
policies,
something that's not reviewable, and whether they were trying to review something that was on that sideline in that heated discussion, not reviewable. And so adding to that penalty by S.J. Green is now a delay of game penalty.
And so much for the big gain on the catch and run by Sutton.
So they went from possible 1st and 10 at the 55, now 1st and 20 back at their own 30. After all that, Kevin Glenn heaves it, and S.J. Green trying to come back to the ball, and once again, Bombers right up in the face. Euclid Cummings in front of Kevin Glenn as he tossed that football.
Well, big Euclid Cummings is a guy who flew under the radar amongst the free agent signings by the Blue Bombers, but to me, he's a guy who has the potential to have a huge impact. An outstanding rookie season with the Toronto Argonauts last year. You saw them push up the middle that time. His proximity to Kevin Glenn changed the trajectory of that throw. It ended up being an underthrow because Kevin Glenn had to launch it at a higher trajectory than he wanted.
Second down, Sutton now with blocking help. Terrell Sutton out of the backfield again on a dump pass, but he's going to be short of that first down, a 13-yard gain, and once again Boris Beatty. So both defenses in this opening game tightening up the screws here. Almost 4.5 gone second quarter. Beatty, look at this punt. That could bring rain. McDuffie tripped up after a 55-yard boot by Boris Beatty. John Bowman, the ageless wonder. 19 sacks a year ago. Quarterback hunter begins another season in the Canadian Football League. Almost 34 years old, 11 seasons in the Canadian Football League, and still racking up the sacks. 103 career sacks for John Bowman.
Yeah, looking to climb that top 10 list through this 2016 season, a career high 19, as we mentioned last year, and that was despite being scratched for a couple of games during the season.
Drew Willie for Darvin Adams. Can't run underneath it. But John Bowman, the Renaissance man, still hanging in, and some people, even he thought last year that 2015 might be his last.
Going into last season, I had planned for that to be my last season, and I didn't tell many people because I didn't want people to make excuses for me or to look at me differently. I honestly thought 10 years was plenty. And if I'd have known I was going to have 19 sacks, I wouldn't have said that.
Well, he's got one already tonight. Big rush again. Willie out of the backfield. Andrew Harris. Oh, big hit on the corner. Andrew Harris, though, stopped. He takes one out of the backfield. Jonathan Mincy, the newcomer on the corner, one of those two rookies for the Montreal Alouettes out of Auburn. The big hit there and a big stop on Harris. 4th 2 and out for the Blue Bombers. Their offense struggling out of the chute here. Justin Medlock to Steph Logan. One cut, then another. Up near the 45-yard line, a 50-yard boot. So the Bomber defense returns to the field once more, and the guy who was second to John Bowman last year, Jamal Westerman, who calls himself a rookie from last year, but he's hardly a second-year player in the Canadian Football League. This guy has been around.
Yeah, Jamal Westerman entered the National Football League in 2009 out of Rutgers from Brampton, Ontario. Originally born in the U.S., so he's one of those guys who qualified as a national once there was a rule change. Westerman's actually an interesting case because where a number of guys wouldn't have qualified under the old rules and did qualify under the new rules, Westerman's a guy who actually could have qualified under the old rules but hadn't gotten to the point of applying yet. The rules changed, made it easy for him. Became a free agent, great signing for the Blue Bombers last season. He had what was needless to say an immediate impact.
Nick Lewis, another catch on that previous play, so it's 2nd down now. This 30-something offense for the Alouettes. Pump and go for Duron Carter, makes the catch over the shoulder. Glenn has to dust himself off. The Bombers got to him, but he got to Duron Carter for a 30-yarder.
Great inside swim move there by Westerman on a pretty good veteran offensive tackle in Jeff Parrott. And we talked earlier about the faith that Kevin Glenn has in Duron Carter to just put the ball up and count on number 89 to go get it. And you saw it there. Kevin Glenn is pretty much throwing that ball blind to where he expects Duron Carter to be. And Carter's right on the spot.
1st and 10 from the 29. Hit screen to Carter. Son of Chris Carter, Pro Football Hall of Famer, and I'm sure his dad's watching tonight. And by the way, a cousin to Kenny Stafford, so they're keeping it all in the family in Montreal.
Yeah, family reunion. They kind of arrived together in Montreal, left at the same time, and returned together again to give the Als this potent receiving corps. You know, a lot of people thought Duron Carter might take another shot at the National Football League this year. A lot of the motivation for his return, he just wants to play football.
Glenn looks over the top. He has him. Carter, what a move there. Outside now, and Duron Carter looking like he never left. Picking up where he left off back in 2014 before heading south. Duron Carter moves the sticks once more.
It's the right call against the coverage. You like to run these crossing routes when you're in situations where you're going to get man coverage because of all the confusion, all the traffic across the field. Watch Chris Randall try to follow him. Randall has to bubble twice around other receivers or other defenders, and that automatically creates separation for Duron Carter and makes it an easy completion for Glenn.
Glenn again, backfield, bobbling at Sutton inside the 10-yard line, and Kevin Glenn, Dwayne Ford, 37 years young, over 200 yards passing in the first half.
Yeah, off to a great start, and that's without a lot of big plays. It's been a lot of quick hitters, high percentage passes for Kevin Glenn, and it's been kind of neat to watch. You know, we talked a lot last year with Ottawa and the success that Henry Burris had as he had an offensive coordinator who was a guy who was basically one of his contemporaries, and Jason Moss. They were on the same page because through their playing careers, they had seen all the same things. They understood each other. They related to a lot of the same things. And now you're getting the same thing with Kevin Glenn and Anthony Calvillo.
Glenn, and inside the 5-yard line. And it's J.C. Beaulieu, the fullback out of Sherbrooke, will make the Alouettes go 1st and goal. He almost had a touchdown.
Yeah, Beaulieu is a guy now in his 3rd year with the Alouettes. Full-time starting fullbacks. You see the offensive coordinator,
legend
Anthony Calvillo.
Look at all the yards those two guys have on that sideline. Glenn, the all-time leader, Anthony Calvillo. First and goal. Glenn hands it off to Sutton, who is stopped in his tracks. Khalil Bass is there. Macho Harris is there. But there's a penalty flag there as well. Far sideline. Might have been an alignment issue.
Offside. Winnipeg, number 94. Half the distance to the goal. First down.
So
Montreal.
first and goal right from the 1 now. Euclid Cummings. Takes away a big stop there on Sutton. Brandon Bridge now, the Canadian quarterback, comes in for this short yardage play. Bridge now, stuffed now. Can't get that ball to the end zone. The whistle blew. Bridge tried to go over the top, but Ian Wild had none of that. So it's going to be second and goal.
Yeah, Brandon Bridge is trying to find a soft spot in that defensive line. That left A-gap closed down quickly. Ian Wild came over the top to make sure Bridge couldn't get there with a second effort.
Bridge trying to punch this baby in. And he, no signal, does. And finally, after an impressive drive by Kevin Glenn, with assists from Duron Carter, Nick Lewis, Terrell Sutton, and finally, the Canadian, Brandon Bridge, crosses the goal line for the touchdown.
Brandon Bridge, the 2nd-year man, pressed into action in opening week last year due to the injuries to Jonathan Crompton and Dan Lefevre that we talked about earlier. Opens this season as the number 3 man. Kevin Glenn and a crew of young quarterbacks. Joaquin Cato, number 2, Vernon Adams, former Eastern Washington and Oregon Star, also on the roster.
32-yard point after from Boris Beatty. Sasaga, talent. Brandon Bridge caps it off.
Well, the Brandon Bridge touchdown not only gives the Montreal Alouettes a 12-0 lead.
History.
Little history. Brandon Bridge, the first Canadian quarterback to score a touchdown in the CFL since
our buddy Julio Caravata back in 1996. So Brandon Bridge in the history books. People like Jerry DiTilio, of course, and Russ Jackson. Quincy McDuffie now trying to get the Bombers some sort of spark. Down 12-0, and mostly down 12-0 because Kevin Glenn is looking like the Kevin Glenn of old and not an old Kevin Glenn.
Yeah, he's been sharp. Most of the damage has been done through quick hitters, but he hit that bomb down the sideline to Duron Carter. Set the table with Beaulieu and Brandon Bridge in to punch it in.
Bridge, who actually played, remember, in that first game last year after Jonathan Crompton and Dan Lefevre both went out of South Alabama. Highly recruited quarterback. Now Drew Willie trying to get something going here, but not now. Picked off, and happy birthday, Chip Cox. Interception and almost a pick 6. There's a way to celebrate the birthday. Happy 33rd. Picks off Drew Willie.
And I like the versatility of these Montreal defenders. Here you see Chip Cox lined up at the safety. That's the usual safety. Marco Briette lined up at the Sam linebacker spot, so they exchange responsibilities. Cox does a nice job reading the route of Ryan Smith. Coming right at him, cuts underneath it to take it the other way in a hurry.
Chip Cox, who had a pair of interceptions, of course, a couple seasons ago, the outstanding defensive player in the league. Kevin Glenn's in trouble now, has to escape, tosses it to the side for Sutton. What a play! Terrell Sutton crashes down near the 10-yard line. How about Kevin Glenn? And wincing right now after he took a shot, but was able to somehow dish that off to Sutton. That was a basketball pass.
Well, it seems like every time we do an interview with Kevin Glenn, it ends up with us talking basketball. And Kevin Glenn has a little bit of that point guard mentality. His job is to distribute, and he's done it very effectively tonight.
2nd and 1. How about the night this guy's having? Sutton down near the 5, and so the Owls will go 1st and goal after the interception by Chip Cox, and a chance to pad their lead tonight, spoiling the home opener for the Blue Bombers so far. 3-minute warning before halftime, and a long night in Winnipeg continues.
Rod Smith and the boys back in the studio getting set for Live at the Half. We're going to talk a lot about the job the Alouette defense is doing. We're also going to look ahead at the Grey Cup rematch tomorrow in Edmonton. The Red Blacks, the Eskimos, the Alouettes in business again late in this half as we go back to Rod and Dwayne.
Kevin Glenn, 18 of 24 for 216 yards, and we're not even at halftime. And a chance to hit the house again. And a fumbled football, and the Blue Bombers desperately needed that. Chris Randall, what a night he's had. That's his 2nd turnover of the night. Interception, now a fumble recovery on a great strip at the goal line.
Chris Randall was one of the first free agents the Winnipeg Blue Bombers signed in Mike O'Shea's first year as head coach of this team, demonstrating why a guy who's leading by example. This defense, Bruce Johnson also getting in on that play. 3rd-year halfback for the Bombers.
Bombers got another long field though, Dwayne. Need to get something going before halftime, and it's up to Andrew Harris. He plows up near the 1st down marker. Not a good look tonight for this Bomber revamped offense with all these new players. Again, Dressler's out of the ball game already. Harris has had a few touches and a few sparks, but Drew Willie hasn't been able to get it clicking yet. Paul LaPolice back in Winnipeg, now offensive coordinator, receivers coach. You know he'll have something up his sleeve for adjustments at halftime. And again, the Bombers going backwards. 2nd and short yardage. There's a penalty flag though.
We'll see if this is offside on the Owls, because they seem to get a great jump on that one.
Too many men. Montreal. It's a 10-yard penalty. 1st down. Winnipeg.
The Bomber fans have been waiting for something to cheer about in opening night. Had to run for cover earlier. Very subdued crowd here. Team down 12-0. There's the extra man, Dwayne.
Yeah, trying to make a run for the sidelines. It was Winston Venable.
Willie now. Deep shot for Smith. Track meet down that far hash. Looked like they had something there.
Yeah, Ryan Smith coming out of that slot. Got a half step on Billy Parker. Nice stem to the outside, allowed him to get that inside release. Just overthrown by a step or two.
2:20 to go before halftime. Deep drop for Willie. Long throw for Willie, and over Quincy McDuffie, and Drew Willie knocked down again, and the Bomber offense stymied again by this stout Montreal defense. Drew Willie struggling here in game 1 of 2016.
You're going to see Aaron Laverius come in to deliver the hit on Drew Willie just as he throws this football.
5 punts, 1 interception, and 1 safety from that Bomber offense. Not good enough. Steph Logan out of a pile. So the Alouettes into Winnipeg territory again. A chance to put some more points on the board before halftime. Rod and the boys standing by. In case you're just joining us, you might be thinking we'd be in close to the 4th quarter right now, but we had a 1-hour weather delay. Players had to retreat to the locker rooms. Fans had to find shelter here with lightning in the area. We returned an hour later and resumed the game. It was 3-0 Montreal. Kevin Glenn for S.J. Green. Green comes back to it. And again, Mincy on the corner. There's a lot of question marks. Sorry, it's S.J. Green. Julian Posey down there. A lot of talk about the newcomers at DB on both sides. So he's not in my house.
Posey, a guy who broke into the league with the Hamilton Tiger Cats and joined the Bombers last season. He's won one of those halfback spots.
Bombers bring the house. Glenn swings it out to Lewis, and Nick has his 4th catch on 2nd down, and another 1st down for the Alouettes. So difficult to bring this guy down.
And Nick Lewis, big body and a low center of gravity. Runs his routes like a receiver, but once he has that ball in his hands, he's like a fullback.
Stays in, top of your screen. 1st and 10. Crossing pattern. Bruce Johnson almost had an interception. Well, Nick once had 9 straight 1,000-yard seasons, and he continues to climb the record books. Most catches all time. He's passed Milt last year, looking for Don Narcisse next. Great names on that list.
Nick Lewis was such a great story last year. I think when he was let go by Calgary, a lot of people thought Nick Lewis was done.
Duron Carter's wide open and will score one of the easiest touchdowns he will ever get. His 1st of 2016, his 1st back to the Canadian Football League. There is a penalty flag in the backfield. Kevin Glenn was hammered as he threw the football,
Montreal,
but this touchdown is coming back.
10-yard penalty.
What a break for the Bombers, because Duron Carter was so wide open. No touchdown. Holding call.
And that one's going to go against the new left tackle, Jacob Ruby, who's going to end up working against Euclid Cummings from the inside. See a little extra hook there to try and prevent a hit on his quarterback. That gets detected and is going to bring back the big play. The Bombers get off the hook for that bust in the secondary. Chris Randall had sat down on a hook route inside thinking the ball was going there, and he let Carter go.
Glenn's going to Carter again, and he can't come up with it. And again, Randall and Carter, this one-on-one has been must-watch TV tonight.
A great challenge for Chris Randall tonight, and he's been up to it in every way. A nice job getting his hand in there. You saw the right hand come around to interfere with Carter trying to pull that football in.
So that penalty lets the Bombers off the hook again. Down 12-0, but this could have been a lot worse. You think about the fumble by Sutton and that penalty. Trying to get it going, put points on the board before halftime. This guy could do it too. Quincy McDuffie. High hurdle up near the 40. Good field position. But the offense has to kick into gear here before halftime. Well, Dwayne, you'll love this. The iconic event, Shark Week, returns to Discovery.
You were teasing me there. I thought it was going to be like Sharknado 5.
No, it's close though.
This is still good.
Sunday, June 26th. It's all shark and awe. Like that. You like the Sharknado though. On Discovery. Chase Davis, second catch of the night. Short of a first down marker. Out of Northern Colorado. Chip Cox, birthday boy today. Interception in this game. Here's a big rush now. Willie lets it go, and McDuffie can't get to it. And another penalty flag on the far side. Looks like the signal initially is against Montreal.
Offside, Montreal, number 7. 5-yard penalty, first down.
You know, you look at Winnipeg in this first half. Noel Thorpe back with the Owls again. All those penalties. 102 yards for the Alouettes. You look at the score right now, and if you're Winnipeg and they have really struggled moving the football, to like your chances in the second half if you can turn the corner here. Haven't done much. Andrew Harris now sprinting outside, and Harris dragged down by Chip Cox. Penalty flag flown way back at the 27-yard line. It's way out of the play, and it looks like it's against Montreal.
And we'll see if they call a horse collar tackle
Major
here.
Foul, unnecessary roughness. Horse collar tackle.
It is a horse collar.
15 yards from the end of the play, automatic first down.
Crowd wanted that call, and Bombers, another penalty assists them in this drive. Rory Colhart, wide right, top of your screen. Darvin Adams below. Harris in the backfield with Willie. Minute to go before the half. Willie in trouble. Dumps it off again for Andrew Harris, half the first down yardage.
Well, this is one of the things that stands out when you look at the Blue Bombers' new acquisitions. Andrew Harris, Ryan Smith, Weston Dressler. These are some guys that can do some things after the catch. Guys who are genuine playmakers.
Here's a big rush. Willie escapes, but not for long. Gabe Napton has sack number 1 of 2016. And so the drive again looks like it's going to stall here, and the best the Bombers are going to do is be able to put points on the board via a field goal attempt.
And you're going to see they get good contain from both sides, which forces Willie to step up into the middle. He's not flush to one side or the other, so he can't escape the pocket, because the players with the contain responsibilities, those contain rushes on both sides, did a nice job keeping him in, forcing Willie to step right up into the pressure.
Matt Nichols will hold now. Normally Weston Dressler has been holding for Justin Medlock. Nichols will hold here. This is from about the 47-yard line for Medlock, the most accurate kicker in CFL history, but not this time. Kerplunk. Dead ball. No points. That kind of first half for the Bombers. They've been able to dodge a lot of Montreal bullets, but this time, this one goes off the goalpost. There's Weston Dressler.
Weston Dressler is the guy who has been Justin Medlock's holder through training camp. In fact, for the first preseason game, Dressler suited up for that game, didn't play a down on offense, but held for kicks so that he and Medlock could work on their timing. Now with him down, Matt Nichols comes in to hold, and you wonder if that has any effect on the kicker in that situation.
That kind of first half for the Blue Bombers tonight. Long first half with that hour delay built in. We'll have to do a lot of things differently defensively or offensively in the second half. No points on the board. Jim Pop's team up by 12. It could have been a lot more. Sutton fumbled near the goal line. Ron Carter's touchdown taken back. That should be it for the first half. With an hour delay built in, we'll go to halftime. Alouettes leading 12-0. Season opening night in Winnipeg, and not a good one for the home side. As we send it back to the studio, here's Rod and the boys.
Thank you, Rod. Back with Jock Climby and Matt Dunnigan and Milt Stiegel. And yes, the Bombers miss out on a chance for Justin Medlock to get 3 on the board, but they're lucky in some other ways, as you pointed out. 2 red zone turnovers, Matty, by the Alouettes, also a touchdown called back. Their defense, though, really getting the job done tonight.
Yeah, we talked about that in pregame. I think everybody's in agreement. Montreal's defense last year is one of the best in the league, and the strong point of that football team. You add Kevin Glenn offensively and the weapon Ron Carter, and it becomes a nightmare because the defense is fresh now, and they're all over Drew Willie, which was a concern for me during preseason because I saw easy busts up front, and here the defense getting 2 points from Montreal. This is dominance up front. Drew Willie just dumping the ball down the field there. The last drive we saw him pushing down the field a couple times, but he's dumping it down. Andrew Harris is basically non-existent. It looks like that rain delay really hurt them. They had no offensive symmetry and synergy at all, Jock, and that's a concern. They got to turn that around. This game should be a blowout right now.
Yeah, I'd say the biggest concern for Paul LaPolice in this offense is their inability to push the ball down the field. Yeah. Intermediate and deep, not working whatsoever. And here's the interception, and this is an example of what's not working. And this is match coverage, and it's a bad throw, but more so a great play by Chip Cox. Here you got Smith running basically the crossing route, okay? And watch how Napton is playing the blitz, and then he's backing out in the zone. And Chip Cox, his job is to make sure no one crosses his face. So as soon as he sees this, he dives underneath. Now, Napton is in the throwing lane. So in all likelihood, Willie is having to alter his throw just a little bit. He's trying to get it up and over Napton, and that allows Cox just enough time to slip underneath. That is incredible from a 33-year-old linebacker to be able to make that play in that situation. But their inability to get the ball down the field is killing this football team.
One of the things we were looking for, Milt, to Ron Carter, the impact he'd have on the Alouette offense. What'd you think?
Well, he's had an impact. They like to go throw to him deep, and he's one of the best deep catchers in the CFL. But you've noticed right here, the deep balls are most difficult ball to catch. And right here, he doesn't get it correct this time. Instead of going straight up field, you see how he drifts toward the sideline. He doesn't leave his quarterback any room for error. He's 1.7 yards away from the sideline. Well, he comes back and he gets it correct this time. He leaves his quarterback some room, maybe like 4 or 5 yards, and they complete the ball. Like I just mentioned, the deep ball is the most difficult ball to complete. You have to allow your quarterback some room to the sideline. Otherwise, you don't have a chance of completing it.
Was wide open, had the touchdown. It was called back by a penalty. But, yeah, the Alouettes could be leading by more. 89 yards offense for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers in that first half. They are down. When we come back, we're going to talk about tomorrow's Grey Cup rematch. Ottawa, Edmonton here on Friday Night Football.
Edmonton, Ottawa in the Grey Cup Championship. A hot start for the new kids on the block. Riley to throw, looking for Darius Bowman, touchdown. And all the MOP can do is watch. The Edmonton Eskimos, 2015 Grey Cup champs.
The GMC Precision Playbook, brought to you by GMC. We are professional grade, with Chris Schultz.
In run defense, the battle is parallel versus perpendicular on every play.
Little counter play. Ran perfectly.
Every run defender wants to keep his shoulders parallel to the line of scrimmage for as long as possible. Because when parallel, you can keep your vision upfield and see where the running back is. But the moment you are forced to go perpendicular to the line of scrimmage, where your shoulders are no longer parallel, you lose your vision on the ball carrier and lose your power angles throughout your body to disengage from the block. The only time you want to become perpendicular is by perpendicular choice. That is when you have beaten the block and now can pursue and turn your body perpendicular to the line of scrimmage. On defensive line, stay parallel and never be forced into a perpendicular position until you're ready.
At the half in Winnipeg, 12-0 Alouettes lead it. They could be up by more. We are going to talk now about one of the matchups tomorrow in a doubleheader. The Grey Cup rematch. Edmonton Eskimos, with Chris Jones as their head coach, defeated Jason Moss, who was running the offense, and Rick Campbell, of course, in the Ottawa Redblacks last November. Now it's Jason Moss on the other side of things, Milt, against his old team.
It's going to be a great game, a tough matchup, and I think the game is going to be won in the trenches. You look at the Ottawa Redblacks offensive line, the only offensive line where all 5 offensive linemen played every single game. I like Edmonton's offensive line, but I think the challenge is going to be for Ottawa's offensive line to block Edmonton's defensive line. They got some dogs over there. You got Odell Willis. Odell Willis, he loved playing in Chris Jones, but his one complaint was he had him drop back a little bit more than he would like to. He would never say it to Chris Jones, but I know he didn't like that too much. So now he gets to come off the edge that entire game. So that's going to be a challenge, in my opinion, to see if the Ottawa Redblacks offensive line can block that Edmonton Eskimos defensive line.
A lot of scheming going on, you know, with great personnel. Why these two teams were in the Grey Cup last year. And as much has changed in Edmonton, I think it's stayed the same because of those players. Yeah, they got new systems to learn, but I think the coaches there are quality. And these guys are going to go out there and defend the Grey Cup championship for the first time, and they'll be motivated. And I know Ottawa will be too. I'm looking forward to seeing John White back for the Eskimos in that backfield because I think he's a dynamic running back, and I think he just complements an already loaded offensive scheme.
Yeah, no, for Ottawa, you know, obviously, as I walk the streets of Ottawa, I'm getting asked all the time, what's going to be the Red Blacks' future this season? And that's what I'm telling folks, which is their offense, which was at #1 in yards, #1 in time of possession last year, is largely intact. You got those 4,000-yard receivers back. You got Henry Burris back with Trevor Harris, which is about the best #2 option you could possibly have in the CFL. So offense is going to be fine. However, defense has lost some very key pieces. Half that defense is gone. That's going to be the big question mark in Ottawa.
You told me you get a limousine everywhere you go. You don't walk anywhere, John.
I roll the window down occasionally and talk to the folks, Bill. Come on.
He likes to get out of the limo and walk a few feet. So, yeah. Hey, that doubleheader, we're looking forward to that as well. Coming up, Mike Riley, of course, Grey Cup MVP and #1 player in our top 50 as well. For the Eskimos, Mike Benavides there running the defense now with Chris Jones gone under Jason Moss. Red Blacks, Eskimos, Stampeders, Lions. Dave Dickinson, new head coach in Calgary. Wally Buono back as head coach with the BC Lions. All get started 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific. Doubleheader here on TSN.
The Winnipeg native returns to his home city.
They can't stop us. He's back.
We have just been told that there has been lightning seen in the area here. Welcome back to our regularly scheduled program. Pump and go for Duron Carter, makes the catch. Duron Carter looking like he never left.
After a long half, 12-0 Alouettes lead it. Here's Milt with the stats.
Well, the score is only 12-0, but if not for those 2 turnovers in the red zone, they could be up by 14 more points. I think the Winnipeg Blue Bombers have to find a way to run the ball. Otherwise, they're going to be over Drew Willie all evening long. Otherwise, and actually, congratulate to Nick Lewis. He's went over 12,000 yards receiving for his career.
So, very good Alouette defense tonight, and that includes John Bowman, of course, who's standing by with Sarah Oleski.
John, you guys were able to keep the Bombers off the scoreboard in that first half. What did this defense do well?
I mean, we're being physical and we're rallying to the ball. You know, when you run, good things happen, and we're executing. Minus the last drive, we had a little hiccup, you know, giving up some big plays and some dumb penalties. But hopefully, the halftime will come back and play better.
It's only 2 quarters of the first game of the season, but how much does this defense want to send a message in this game, not only to the Bombers, but to the league?
I mean, we want to show everybody that we're one of the best, and we've been one of the best for the last few years. You know, statistically, our numbers weren't there because we faced a lot of challenges last year, but we just want to show to everybody that we can do it.
Thank you, John.
You're welcome.
Bombers legend Chris Walby, there he is, the big man, being honored tonight first in that stadium to go into the Ring of Honor. 3-time Grey Cup champion. Winnipeg trailing by 12 at the half. We'll be back.
First edition of Friday Night Football 2016. The Alouettes leading the Winnipeg Blue Bombers 12-0. Here's Andrew Harris with Sarah Orlesky.
Andrew, when you look at only being down 12-0 after those first 2 quarters, do you guys almost consider it a little bit fortunate that that's the score you're up against?
Yeah, our defense is playing their hearts out right now. You know, causing turnovers, which is huge for us. Offense, we just got to get in a rhythm right now. We're just too many 2-and-outs, too many penalties, and we just got to clean it up.
So what's the first step to getting in that rhythm?
We just got to be productive on first down and then convert those second downs. Just got to start hitting those big plays. We missed some receivers, and yeah, we just got to overall clean it up. So you know, it's a fresh half here. You know, we're only down 12, so a lot of game left.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Second half is underway. Quincy McDuffie gathered that at the goal line and brings it up near the 33-yard line. So the Blue Bombers, after struggling offensively in that first half, not a lot of yardage, not a lot of completions, but Drew Willie trying to get it together here, and they got a half a football. 9 of 13, but only 68 yards, and that pick by Chip Cox.
Yeah, and I'd like to see the Blue Bombers take a little bit of a page
from Kevin Glenn.
Well, yeah, from Montreal's playbook here. Call some quick hitters. There are a lot of times where, yeah, it's been high percentage short passes that Drew Willie has thrown, but they've largely been his check down routes.
Keep it on the turf here. Half the first down yardage.
By contrast, Montreal has completed a lot of short passes, quick hitters, but it's been more by design as opposed to being further down that progression of reads. Those have been the plays they've been calling, have been the 30 passes, the quick releases for Kevin Glenn.
Those yak yards have helped as well. Yards after the catch. Rush again. Far side for Harris. Springs one. Now has the first down and more. Big play, Andrew Harris. Two-way back. 1 year in BC, almost went for 1,000 yards rushing and 1,000 yards receiving.
This is the point I was making towards the end of the first half. They can go to a quick passing game and put the ball in the hands of guys like Andrew Harris, Ryan Smith, even Quincy McDuffie, who's in there now for Weston Dresser. These are guys that can make some people miss, as you just saw after the catch. It's okay to give them the ball 5 yards from the line of scrimmage and let them do the rest.
Interesting on that play by Harris. That was the first second down conversion of the night for Winnipeg. They got another second down coming up here. Colhert and Adams, the wideouts. Harris in the pistol with Willie in the shotgun. Turn and hand it off to Andrew Harris. First down, rumbles up near the Montreal 45-yard line.
Nice job here by the offensive line, getting things blocked up, getting up to the linebacker, creating a gap here for Andrew Harris to run through.
And Andrew Harris right, left, down the sideline so far. More Andrew Harris, right side this time, couple of big blocks. Again, halfway to a first down, making about 3 or 4 yards for Andrew Harris. And Drew Willie loves having number 33 in his backfield.
You know, a lot of our offense is built around him, which it should be. You know, he's a very versatile player. He gives us a lot of different, you know, his ability to catch it out of the backfield, block, you know, run between the tackles, get out in space. He can kind of do it all, and he's seen it all, which is nice for me, you know, in the backfield there with him. So, yeah, I was pretty excited.
Blue Bombers way offside here, and Willie is sacked. Willie was sacked, but the Bombers were way offside. Their receivers were about 2 yards downfield. And Javon Johnson, the former Blue Bomber, was
offside
in on
Winnipeg. Number 14.
Drew Willie.
Penalty is refused. Third down.
Ron Johnson, what a great story. Former outstanding defensive player in the CFL and was part of Swaggerville here, Dwayne, before he went to the Ottawa Red Blacks, of course. Got to the Eastern Final last year and now in Montreal.
Yeah, great veteran pickup for Jim Pop and these Alouettes, particularly as they end up with a couple of rookie starters in that secondary. Javon playing the halfback spot for
Look
them.
at this. They're lining up for a field goal here.
58 yards.
This would be a 58-yarder for Justin Medlock. The kick is up, and it is good. Oh, my goodness. That's one way to get on the scoreboard. A 58-yard bomb.
That's why they signed him.
How about this shot from Justin Medlock? Whoa. One of the greatest Blue Bombers of all time, a homegrown product. Big number 63, Bluto they called him, Chris Walby. Outstanding lineman, three-time Grey Cup champion, icon in the community, and at halftime, the first name ever to be put up on the Ring of Honor. And the big guy is with Sarah.
Well, Rod, I have a very happy Chris Walby with me because he's glad to see the points go up on the board with that long field goal. Chris, for you, you go into the Ring of Honor. You're the first Bomber to be inducted into it. It was inevitable that you were going to go, but what does it mean to you to be the first?
Well, I was actually surprised and humbled. I mean, I'm definitely honored to being an old lineman, right? That's just kind of, maybe that's why the storm started today. I don't know if the gods were saying something. I am a Viking, but I think that when I looked at it, when I got the news, I almost said, you know, what about guys like Kenny playing? And they all said, hey, listen, don't worry about it. This is voted on by us and the selection committee. We wanted you. You deserve to be here. 16 years, what you did. And I told you before off camera, Sarah, we're talking, my grandkids are so excited about this. It's just an incredible honor to have your name, placed in a place of prominence that, you know, when I'm taking the old dirt nap, everybody else can, I told them, just pour a beer on my sign, I'll be happy.
16 seasons, you were a part of that team that won the last Grey Cup for Bombers. What did it mean to you to be a part of the blue and gold, especially during those 80s and 90s teams?
Well, you know what, it's so fantastic, and I look at what they got right now, and they're building something real special here. Listen, it's the first game of the year. They're still in this football game, but it's not where you start, it's where you finish. But I was blessed. I mean, 16 years, we never missed the playoffs. I mean, that's kind of freaky, but I mean, I had great guys, great teammates. I mean, it's not one guy. It's when you put everybody collectively together and they all play the same thing, they all have the same attitude, and they all want to win. So that's the biggest thing. But also want to say hi to Rod and Dwayne up there. How you doing, boys?
We knew that was coming.
I knew that was coming, boys.
Congratulations, Chris, on this very well-deserved honor.
Thank you very much, Sarah. I really appreciate it. Thank you, guys. Love you.
Gentlemen.
Well, we love him. There's a massive mound of flesh with a huge heart. Chris Walby. What a great guy in the community. And Dwayne, you know him well. He's done so much here in Winnipeg, and one of the great players in history. Not too often.
Winnipeg, number 49. 15 yards from the original line of scrimmage. Automatic first down.
An old lineman gets put up on a Ring of Honor, but it says more about what the kind of player Chris Walby and teammate he was. That's why his name is up there.
Well, that's what stands out to me. I played against Chris Walby for most of my career, but had the good fortune to be his teammate in 1993. And I can tell you from the outside, Chris Walby was a guy that you would perceive as kind of a bit of a big, nasty bully out there on the field. But there was no better teammate. Once you were in the locker room with him, one of the funniest guys in the room, just a great supportive teammate, as I said, a guy who knew when it was time to work, when it was time to have fun. An absolute pleasure to play with him, and I'm thrilled for Chris.
Little known fact, perhaps, piece of trivia is it's interesting he's getting put up on that Ring of Honor tonight against the team that he started with, drafted by the Montreal Alouettes. That's where it all began, and they kind of gave up on him, and he ended up, thanks to Paul Robson, the general manager here with the Blue Bombers, and the journey began, and a great career took off as Kenny Stafford hobbles to the sideline. You saw that face mask penalty earlier, catch by Nick Lewis, catch by Duron Carter, and the Alouettes looking to respond to that enormous field goal, by the way. Lost in all that by Justin Medlock. You said it, he's a money man.
I mean, with the offense struggling and just wanting to get points on the board, normally you're not in a position to do that when you're at the 51-yard line. But Justin Medlock, a guy known not only for his accuracy, but also for his leg strength, his range, gets it done for them.
Sutton dropped in his tracks after a gain of a couple, but close to the first down marker. Ian Wild right there.
Ian Wild swapped spots with Khalil Bass coming into week 1. Bass played the weak side last year. Wild is a guy who had played in the middle for much of his CFL career, but switching positions. So Bass sporting a new number 2, and playing a new position. That Mac linebacker spot is Ian Wild shifts to the weak side.
So now a 3rd down play. Kevin Glenn is in shotgun here. 3rd and 1, Sutton in the backfield. Likely will get the handoff. No, he doesn't. Play action. Look at this play to Nick Lewis. Bit of deception. Everybody was looking at Sutton, and the Alouettes easily move the marker here as Nick Lewis takes the pass from Kevin Glenn.
Yeah, and I like the play call. Nick Lewis is just going to slip out into the flat. We've got a little play action here that's going to get everybody on defense to bite. Little rub from the other receiver, B.J. Cunningham, is the key to that play.
Alouettes drive continues here. 9 minutes to go, 3rd quarter, and a strange but true night in Winnipeg. Weather delay. Kevin Glenn now over the top and caught and fumbled and knocked out of bounds. B.J. Cunningham lost the football. The Bombers say it's their ball, but officials are saying that Cunningham may have been down here. We'll have to see what they're saying.
Well, I'd like another look at this one to make sure that Cunningham actually had control of the ball on the catch.
Cunningham.
A couple clear steps there.
So down he goes. They have to touch the ball, and they didn't touch it before it went out of bounds. Looked like he had the ball, knocked out. But it will remain with the Alouettes, and it's a 1st down after a 32-yard catch by B.J. Cunningham.
And as we've been through before, the rule is on a fumble, last team to touch it before it goes out of bounds gains possession. But you have to bear in mind, yeah, Mo Leggett punched it out of there, but that's what caused the fumble. Someone has to touch it after the fumble for there to be a change of possession.
It's the 1 touchdown in the game so far by Brandon Bridge on a 1-yard plunge. 1st and goal. Glenn, end zone, coming back to the football for the touchdown is S.J. Green.
A beautiful throw behind there by Kevin Glenn to S.J. Green. Perfect timing, nice adjustment to the ball by the receiver.
Quiets this stadium again, Dwayne, after the momentum from that long field goal. But S.J. Green has his first of 2016, and for Kevin Glenn, the 256th touchdown pass of his career, and his first of 2016 with the Owls. Beatty with the point after from 32 puts it through, and the momentum snuffer from S.J. Green and Kevin Glenn after B.J. Cunningham made the catch. Big drive again. What a night for Kevin Glenn and the Owls. They increase the lead in Winnipeg. S.J. Green, who said he hated offseason last year, usually in the playoffs, dreaded it, wants to get back there again. Just 3 touchdowns, Dwayne, in 2015, an off year for him. But first game, first score for S.J. Green.
Yeah, off to a good start right here. That throw behind as he presses downfield, sells that he's headed for that corner, but knows just when to break it off, and Kevin Glenn's throwing it at that back shoulder.
Kevin Glenn's looks so good here tonight. Bombers now trying to answer again after they hit that long field goal, and Quincy McDuffie looked like he had some daylight and then was tripped up, but still a pretty good return up near the 35-yard line. McDuffie filling in for DeMond Washington, lost to the team to free agency in the offseason. So Drew Willie again, close to the midway point of the 3rd quarter. Loads of time here if the Bombers can engineer a drive like they did last time, although they don't want it to end in a field goal attempt of that distance. By the way, Justin Medlock tied Bernie Ruoff for the longest field goal in Bomber history. 58 yards. Out of the backfield, Ryan Smith. Longest field goal, of course, is Paul McCallum, 62 yards back in 01. Dave Ridgway at 60. Bernie Ruoffs was back in August 12th, 1975. The kicker who used to wear a wristwatch while he was kicking. And Justin Medlock, in his first game as a Bomber, ties the all-time record. Troy Westwood had a 57-yarder at one time for the Blue Bombers as well. That was an impressive kick. So Willie now for Darvin Adams, comes back to the ball and should have a first down. First catch of the night for Darvin Adams.
Well, Darvin Adams, one of the few holdovers. He, along with Rory Kohlert, in that Winnipeg starting receiving corps, making his first grab of the evening. Mike O'Shea talked about how Darvin Adams is one of the guys who's really benefited from the arrival of Weston Dressler and Ryan Smith, just things he's learned from them in the way that they practice.
Andrew Harris up the gut. Almost 7 yards on that gain.
Well, the Bombers seem to develop a pretty good offensive rhythm coming out of the gate to start this third quarter. And they did it by feeding the ball to Andrew Harris, whether it was in the run game or in the pass game. But this is a guy who should be their #1 option. Offensively, the guy who will lead this team in touches. If they can get him rolling, hopefully to get the rest of the offense to do the same.
Quick hitter now for Willie, far side, and right up is Billy Parker on Ryan Smith to negate a first down. It's going to be third down and a long yard and a half, almost 2. No choice for the Bombers. They have to kick it away, and it's way out of field goal range.
A big defensive play here by Billy Parker. And Billy was one that talked to him briefly before the game tonight about the young guys in the secondary. He said, you know, everybody's so worried about these young guys. He said, you know, we were all rookies once. All the veterans that we have here, and he said, and they're surrounded by veteran guys. He said, we'll put our arms around them, we'll look after these guys, they'll be just fine.
Steph Logan runs out of room on the far sideline. 19-3 is the score right now. The Alouettes bring their offense back on the turf here at Investors Group Field in Winnipeg. Not too long ago, wearing a helmet on the sideline, now the headset, the offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach, the legend, Anthony Calvillo. Here's Sarah.
Rod, I asked Jim Popp whether or not he foresaw Anthony Calvillo becoming a coach when he was a player, and Jim said, no, absolutely not. Well, that's no surprise, because neither did Anthony. He told me it wasn't until the final couple years of his career that he even thought about it. He never wanted to be one before. And he said that having veterans on this offense, especially a veteran quarterback like Kevin Glenn, is helping him ease into this offensive coordinator role. He can tell Kevin something, and then Kevin can go communicate it to others while he worries about something else. And communication is one of the biggest things that he's working on, and part of the adjustment. He said that as a player, he only had to hear things once and he was locked in. He has to be reminded sometimes that with some of the young players that they have to be told things a few times before they get it right.
Thank you, Sarah. Look at him over there. He's busy working. He's got the pen going, the specs going. AC, the OC. Glenn, play action again. Jaguar brought down by Mo Leggett. Did you see Anthony Calvillo becoming a coach?
Well, I don't think it's a big surprise, you know, and one of the things that's been interesting to talk about with Jim Popp in terms of AC as his offensive coordinator now in his second year coaching this team, that last year Anthony was such a humble guy, one of the most successful players in the history of this league, but he was very quiet. He would kind of bite his tongue, wouldn't necessarily jump in to say much. Anthony realized after a year of doing this, in terms of reflecting, that one of the things he wanted to do was to be more vocal.
Here's Terrell Sutton in open space, shakes one and another. Got back to the line of scrimmage, huge hit down there.
And, you know, and Anthony said he realized he was probably doing a disservice to the players and other members of the coaching staff by not being more vocal, by not sharing more of his experiences and talking more. So that's one of the things that he's really made an effort to do here in his second year as a coach, is to be maybe more of a leader in that way, to be more vocal as a coach. And he joked he's even being more vocal at home with his wife when there's something that he doesn't necessarily agree with.
Now, one thing for sure, now that he's a teacher, is one of the greatest students. Look out there in the game, Anthony Calvillo. Quincy McDuffie Bobbles it, picks it up, and then is dropped at the 26, 44-yard boot. 19-3 game here on Friday Night Football. Well, the great Purelator Tackle Hunger program back on again and collecting funds and non-perishable food, of course, for the local food banks. The drive here in Winnipeg tonight. Next up, July 8th in Edmonton, and that Grey Cup. They hug it a little more here in Winnipeg. It's been a long time since they've seen that thing. 1990, the last time a Bomber team won the Grey Cup, when Chris Walby was part of that. Great franchise and glory years. Great for Purelator. Great to see the Bomber fans showing up and helping out tonight. Drew Willie took a shot to the head there from John Bowman. Slapped to the bucket. Slow to get up. No penalty flag.
Take another look right here. Well, Bowman took a swipe, and I think he initiated that, intending to try and strip the ball. And in the meantime, as he was winding up,
Winnipeg
Willie was on his way down.
A major foul on the quarterback.
So Winnipeg can challenge this, and it looked like it was a heavy hit. That swipe, whether it's accidental or not, it's still a foul.
Well, this is it, right? And John Bowman's a guy who's never been a dirty player in this league, and I truly believe he's winding up to try and strip the ball, but you can't make calls based on intent. You make the call based on what the action is, and he struck Drew Willie in the head, wound up and struck him in the head here. Calls are kind of made black and white in the Canadian Football League. It's not a judgment call for the officials.
After review, we have a major foul, unnecessary roughness. Montreal, number
You think
7.
about the expanded
15
video
yards
replay
play,
and the opportunity to
down.
look at major fouls and all of those things. Think back to some of the plays that we've seen the last few years when that wasn't available. Could not challenge that. Sometimes games were left in the balance because of that.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm not a guy who's always been the biggest supporter of instant replay, but I certainly understand the desire to get the calls right, and that's what they're trying to do.
5th first down for Winnipeg via penalty. Harris now, delayed draw. Gets some help, just a couple of yards here as Andrew Harris comes back home after establishing himself as a bona fide star on the West Coast with the BC Lions. Free agency came, and Andrew Harris went home here in Winnipeg. Played his high school ball at Oak Park High School, went to Vancouver Island as a junior player, and then was found there. And next thing you know, racking up yardage with the Lions. Now wearing blue and gold. 2nd down. Adams again. Dropped a football. And the official, the side judge, the Alouettes are saying incomplete pass, but the side judge and the officials are saying it's a complete pass. And they're marking it out here. We may have another review. We'll have to see. Well, I don't know if he had that.
Is a completed pass followed by a fumble.
So a completed pass, fumbled ball, but challenge flag is out from the Alouettes. Gotta have it in your grasp.
Yeah, I mean, you can see that it gets in there, and he kind of changes body positions, changes the direction of the ball. But we'll also take a look at that at full speed to see just how quickly the ball is out of there.
Yes.
I think it can be a little bit
Montreal
deceptive in slow
the ruling
motion.
on the field of a completed pass. We'll review the play.
In slow motion, it looks like he really secured the ball and then dropped it.
There we go.
Full speed, I'm inclined to believe that movement of the ball was more of a juggle on its way out.
Right in front of the Bomber bench. Bear Woods there, Javon Johnson, both trying to play referee.
After review,
no catch.
We now have an incomplete forward pass on the play. The ruling has been changed. It will be 3rd down.
So 3rd down, kick team comes out once again.
Well, we saw a couple of replay reviews on that drive. One benefiting each team, but both ultimately getting the call right.
And that ultimately is what it's about. So Justin Medlock busy tonight. Just over 2 minutes to go, 3rd quarter. Bombers are going to need a big rally in the 4th here. Down 16. Steph Logan is back near his 15-yard line. End over ender. Bounces into the end zone. There's a scrap back at the 45-yard line. And they break that up, but a single point put on the board after that kick. 68-yarder from Justin Medlock. Well, TSN Fantasy Football is back. Register now at tsn.ca/CFL Fantasy for your chance to win a weekly Moores gift card or the grand prize, a Joseph Aboud wardrobe and trip for 2 to the Grey Cup in Toronto in November. So the ball, scrimmage now at the 35, 19-4 the score. Medlock doing the scoring for the Bombers tonight. Kevin Glenn back at it now. Sutton takes a pop near the 40. 5-yard pickup. Montreal team missing some key components. Dwayne in that offensive line, such a pillar for such a long time. Josh Bork no longer there. Luc Brodeur-Jourdain is hurt, so patchwork. They've looked pretty good tonight, all things considered.
Yeah, this has led to the shuffle. They had to accelerate things a little bit with a couple of their young guys. First-round picks the last 2 years. Jacob Ruby at left tackle. Philippe Gagnon at right guard.
Well, the Owls were way offside. S.J. Green was about 5 yards offside. On 2nd and 5.
Offside, Montreal, number 19. 5-yard penalty, remains 2nd down.
That's a key 5-yard penalty because it's now 2nd and 10, likely a throwing down for Kevin Glenn and the Owls. The minute to go in the 3rd quarter.
We mentioned that offensive line and the shuffle that's taken place. Jeff Parrott, the only guy starting where he was a year ago at right tackle.
Deep drop for Glenn. Fires over the top, and it's caught. Kenny Stafford, who was nicked up, comes back in the ball game and is a huge first down up near the Alouette 50-yard line. A 16-yard gain.
Kenny Stafford using that waggle well. Get that momentum. Break it in just past that first down marker.
Kevin Glenn now over 300 yards passing, 308 yards in his opener. Trying to begin his first full season in Montreal, only a few games last year. There's the shovel. On first down, minimal gain from Duron Carter. And that's the final play of the 3rd quarter. The Owls on the move again. Bombers get on the board, but only after a long field goal by Justin Medlock, then a single. It's 19-4. Owls trying to get win number 1 of 2016 on the road. Friday Night Football on TSN continues from Winnipeg. Look at all those numbers for the Alouettes. 379 total yards, 311 passing yards, 19 points on the board to 4 for Winnipeg, and the other number, 37, as in years for Kevin Glenn. Age is just a number.
Yeah, absolutely. Kevin Glenn and Anthony Calvillo seem to be right on the same page tonight. It's not only the performance of Kevin Glenn, but also the job that Anthony Calvillo has done calling plays to put Kevin Glenn and the rest of his offense in a position to be successful.
45th career 300-yard game for Kevin Glenn, still seeking the Holy Grail, that Grey Cup, of course. Been so elusive through the years. Had a really good chance in 2012 with Calgary. Lost to Toronto. 2007, Winnipeg. Lost to Saskatchewan. He broke his elbow. before that, never got a chance to play in the Grey Cup game when he was with the Blue Bombers. S.J. Green, another first down here. Could there be a more perfect match, though, as far as an offensive coordinator and a quarterback's coach than Kevin Glenn in this league? Guy who can go for that short yardage, doesn't like to get hit a lot, doesn't like to scamper a lot. Just one of those guys who likes to dish the football.
Yeah, again, it's two guys who are largely on the same page, in part because of their experiences, obviously, very similar experiences as CFL quarterbacks because they've played during the same era. They've seen the same defenses, the same evolution of defensive schemes over the years in this league. So
Montreal, number 69.
They kind of have the same frame of reference.
5-yard penalty, they're being second down.
So another penalty here. That's the only thing that's really been holding back the Owls offensively tonight, penalties. Otherwise, this league could be much larger. Deron Carter coming back to Montreal along with Kenny Stafford. Potential for this offense, if they stay healthy, is enormous. Glenn again fires, and Stafford trying to come back to it. That ball thrown behind Kenny Stafford. So it'll be second down.
Well, Keith Sholigan supplied a little bit of heat on Kevin Glenn that time. Kind of put the acquisitions of Keith Sholigan and Andrew Harris together, as those are two positions, running back and defensive tackle, where the Bombers have flipped from starting Americans to being able to start Canadians now. It's given them a little bit more flexibility in terms of their lineup.
Alouette team trying to restore the faith back in Montreal. What a catch! It's short of a first down again for S.J. Green. Glenn just hums it in there. But Boris Beatty and the field goal unit will come out to extend the lead.
Well, Khalil Bass is going to come clean off the end, but Kevin Glenn recognizes Terrell Sutton's not going to get back there. Like a little confusion as Sutton got caught up inside and tried to bounce back out late, but Bass was already on top of his quarterback.
Last minute addition here to this unit. They got 10 seconds to get this field goal off from the 46. Gonna have to hustle here. Beatty. The 47-yard line. That kick is up. They were able to get it off at the last minute. Laces were to the side, and Beatty still pumped it through. That's why he's an Eastern Division All-Star. 22-4 now, here in the fourth. The CFL on TSN is brought to you by GMC Sierra. We are professional grade. Turned out to be a pleasant night now in the Manitoba capital in Winnipeg. Their home opener, season opener. Bomber team that went through a makeover in the offseason, a facelift, if you will, with a bunch of free agents. One of those prize acquisitions out of the ball game early in Weston Dressler. Need to play comeback here. Looked like offside again, Winnipeg, as Drew Willie goes down. Just have not been able to get much rhythm. And if you're trying to get your offense going and clicking early in a season, it's tough to play against a Montreal defense.
Well, it sure is. And we talked a little bit about two rookie starters in that Montreal secondary. You know, and they've got some veterans around them, guys that are going to help them out. Billy Parker, Chip Cox, Marco Briette, guys on the back end. But the other thing that gives you a little bit of comfort in playing some young guys and allowing them to grow, Javon Johnson, by the way, another veteran acquisition, helping out in that secondary.
Offside. Winnipeg, number 1. Penalties decline, second down.
Another thing that allows you to put a couple of young guys on the back end and be patient and allow them to develop is the front seven you've got, and your ability to get pressure.
As good as anybody in the league.
Yeah,
maybe
absolutely.
the best.
And they'll supply some pressure that will, in effect, take some of the heat off those guys on the back end.
Willie now, here comes the heat again. Dumps it off now. Chase Davis has the first down after being offside on the previous play, so redemption. Think about that front seven for Montreal for a moment. Think about the subs, actually probably a front 10 the guys who actually aren't in the starting unit could start for anybody in the CFL.
Yeah, there's tremendous depth in that group. Obviously, when you look at the defensive end spot, you've got John Bowman, Gabe Napton starting. You've got Aaron Laverius, who's been a starter and a productive player for them, able to rotate in. You look at their Canadians on the interior, Martin Clausen and Jesse Joseph.
Darvin Adams, far side. Well, John Bowman talks about it, exactly what you said. He loves the chemistry on that front D line.
We have just a bunch of guys who just want to get after and want to play football. No attitudes, no prima donnas. We all help and we fight for one another. And that's what helps us out the most, because if I'm willing to break my neck for you, you're going to be willing to break your neck for me. And we all hang out together and we bond and we just like to have fun.
And there's a big burst from Andrew Harris, his best run as a Blue Bomber. Huge gain for Harris. First down, the Bombers moving the football, 18-yarder.
A good burst here from Harris. Nice job by that offensive line. Center Gosen pulling out of there. He had the kick-out block to spring his running back.
Bombers making some adjustments on that O-line in the offseason, too. Now the shovel to Ryan Smith. Smith now slicing, slashing, far side. Another first down. Former Rough Rider moves the sticks.
Again, another playmaker added to this Winnipeg offense. Put the ball in his hands and let him go. Suk Chung, second-year guard, did a nice job there, getting on the defensive end.
Bombers moved. So too did the Alouettes. Bombers may have jumped first.
Procedure, Winnipeg, number 66. 5-yard penalty, remains first down.
First down now, and 15 from the Montreal 31. Touchdown would make it very interesting here in this fourth quarter early on. Almost a must for the Blue Bombers to get back in this. Adams steps out just before that first down marker. 14-yard gain.
The Bombers, again, have a little something going. They've shown some signs of life here in the second half of this ball game, just unable to finish up to this point.
Harris plunges for the first down. So now they're in the score zone, that red zone area. Both the Bombers and the Alouettes struggled in this area last year. That's where they were last or second last in points gained in offense. Bombers were 7th in the red zone a year ago. Need to score here, make a game of it early in the fourth. Willie will change the play. Hands it off now. Helmet down, and once again it's Andrew Harris.
Well, the one thing that's become somewhat apparent to me in the second half of this ball game is that Winnipeg needs to look at Andrew Harris as their catalyst offensively. As they started feeding him the ball more and getting him involved, particularly in the run game, this is where, to me, their production has improved.
80 yards on the ground, 13 of 80. Willie goes for the touchdown, and on second down, Ryan Smith overtop him. Now, Justin Medlock was running out on the field, but they're down 22-4. It's third down now and 5 yards. Time is the enemy. It looks like the Bombers are going to keep the offense out here. They need a touchdown. Field goal's not going to do it at this stage.
Yeah, just under 9 minutes to go. They've rarely been in this territory, so they got to try and come away with 7 now that they're down here.
They can get to the 4. They can go first and goal. He clears the backfield and decides to call his own number. And Drew Willie had to dive and almost got tripped up. It's going to depend on the spot. This is very close. He had to get to just inside the 4-yard line. The Alouettes, looking at it, think that they stopped him.
Well, this was a nice heads-up reaction by Drew Willie because he knows he's got to get to about the 4-yard line. So as he's tripped up and he's off balance, he's just lunging forward with everything he's got to try and get there.
How about the play by Alan Michael Cash to get a hand on him? I don't think they got this. They didn't. They didn't get it. So the Bombers' drive ends here. Drew Willie about 6 inches shy. The Alouettes take over. Michael O'Shea looking for that challenge flag. So the Bombers did challenge the spot on that 3rd down play by Drew Willie, and they wait anxiously now to see if they'll win this challenge. I'm not so sure, though, Dwayne.
No, it's going to be tough because he couldn't fully extend his arm because Bear Woods was coming in to deliver a hit, so he would have really jeopardized ball security there if he had stretched his arm out as he was diving.
Look at the play here by Alan Michael Cash, though.
Well, John Bowman said it to me yesterday as we were talking about the depth and the talent they have on the defensive line. I mean, Alan Michael Cash is a stud. This is like one of the best players in the CFL that nobody really talks about.
Based on that replay, that looked like a good spot by the officials.
After review, the spot on the field has been confirmed. Winnipeg is charged with a team timeout. 1st down.
So time running out on the Blue Bombers on their home opener here tonight. And a huge play by Cash. So now the Bomber D has to come up with something huge here. Montreal trying to get the season off on a winning note after a roller coaster ride, Dwayne, last year that started early. The quarterback carousel, the shuffle, so many quarterbacks, injuries. Tom Higgins shuffled out. Team that never got a sense of any rhythm and hence missing the playoffs for the first time in 20 years. Trying to get back to the postseason again this year in the very competitive CFL East. 3 yards for Terrell Sutton. Under 8 to go here.
A good start for the Alouettes here this evening. Balanced offensive attack. Terrell Sutton doing his thing. Kevin Glenn is again doing a nice job distributing the ball, getting all his receivers involved. Each guy brings a unique skill set to the table. They found ways to utilize all of them.
Keeping it on the ground. They're likely going to have to kick this out and back to the Bombers now. With the traveling man, Kevin Glenn, getting it done tonight. They're going to look at the spot here. It's going to be 3rd down and a long yard.
Well, Kevin Glenn has had plenty of 300-yard games in his career, but he now has his first as a Montreal Alouette, completing 75% of his 40 passes this evening.
Jim Pop has to be excited about the possibilities from this offense tonight. Shot themselves in their cleats a couple of times with penalties, but explosive to say the least. Beatty back at his goal line with McDuffie at his 45. Bombers are going to have to score in bunches here to hold out any hope. Beatty's going to give up 2. And will use up more time. So it's 22-6 now. Jim Pop elects to give up a safety here in Winnipeg. Wimbledon gets underway Monday, day 1 of the tournament on the grass. Coverage begins at 6:30 a.m. Eastern, 3:30 a.m. Pacific on TSN 1, 2, 3, and 5. And that Blue Devil, I say he's a tennis fan. I'm not. And these guys.
Yeah, don't judge him by his cover, Blackie.
Novak Djokovic fan right there. Well, Bomber fans hoping for more here tonight. Willie now airing it out. Jay Stevens brings it in. Biggest play for Winnipeg, and did they ever need it? Chip Cox and Davis into it right near the 39-yard line. 36-yard bomb from Willie to Jace Davis.
This is a beautifully thrown football, but also great concentration by Jace Davis to haul this one in. Chip Cox coming over the shoulder.
Well, if you've ever watched the CFL, you know no lead is safe. Trying to go for it all once again. So it'll be second down. I know there's 6 minutes left, but a couple of touchdowns with 2-point converts. Anything is possible.
We're seeing Drew Willie with a little more time here in the second half to try and push the ball down the field. This to me is a byproduct of having some success running the football. They really pounded the ball through the third quarter with Andrew Harris, and now you're seeing Montreal, particularly on first down, they've got to respect that threat of a run. They can't just hit their ears back and rush the quarterback.
Darvin Adams looks like he's short of a first down, has to get to the 29. Bombers have to go for it here. Ball spotted near the 31.5-yard line. It will be third down once again. Bombers failed last time on a third down conversion. Cost them a shot at the end zone and about 2 minutes on the game clock. Must here. Willie can't pick it up. And down he goes. Bobbled snap, and now that looks like it is it for the Bombers. Needed to keep that drive alive.
Willie just had trouble handling that snap. Even if he'd been able to pick it up cleanly the first time, he might have had a shot to get it to one of his outlet receivers, but just unable to pick it up cleanly. By the time he did, the Owls were on him.
And that has been the theme of the night. The Owls have been on the Blue Bombers. What a defensive effort tonight, but also Kevin Glenn has been Kevin Glenn. He's going to throw now. One hops it. Just one of those game managers. When he's on, he is on. And when he has time, he can dissect you, and he did that a couple of times on a few drives for the Owls tonight.
Well, it seems in terms of their game plan that the Alouettes aren't relying on Kevin Glenn to single-handedly win football games. Just putting him in a position to get the ball out of his hands quickly, make good decisions, make his reads early.
Throwing again, Duron Carter, and a penalty flag is thrown. Carter fighting for the football, and they're saying this could be Chris Randall. Looks like it might be offensive interference, offensive pass interference. Looked like Carter push off of Chris Randall.
Pass interference. Montreal, number 89. 10-yard penalty. Second down.
And here you have the matchup. Duron Carter tried hard to sell it, but the officials weren't biting. The receiver tried to push off a little bit at the end.
Well, Bombers have an issue right now trying to get some personnel on the field. They only got 5 guys out there. Now they're scrambling. And it's going to be third down. They declined the call here, it looks like. And yes, they're bringing out the kick team. That's why they were wondering why.
Yeah,
who to bring out.
Initial confusion really was on the Alouette side. They hadn't sent their punt team out on third down, whereas Winnipeg had started to send a punt return unit out there, and then the defense noticed Montreal's offense was still on. They started heading back out. I think the Owls just didn't realize that it was third down.
It is now under 4 to play. Beatty Booms it.
You got room?
McDuffie drops it. And he is swallowed and brought downfield by B.J. Cunningham.
Those tough on the field deserve a truck that's tough on the road. The 2016 GMC Sierra.
Well, big night in Winnipeg for sports fans. It's the home opener for their football team. They had a #1 first-round draft, #2 overall, Patrick Laine tonight for the Jets. Got a chance to watch it with the football fans here tonight. They're all excited. They got their guy. But it doesn't look like they're going to get their win unless a miracle happens here for the Blue Bombers. 3.5 to go. 4-man rush. Willie stays in, and Jace Davis, undercover on a curl route, comes up with the football. His 5th catch.
Davis did a nice job working back to the football here to help out his quarterback.
They get to the line quickly.
Back far enough.
Well, they got to the line quickly, no challenge, and batted down. This is likely the 3-minute warning. Alouettes on their way to the first W of 2016 here tonight on our first edition of Friday Night Football. International men's rugby continues Sunday. Italy battles Canada, the 2016 Summer Series. Coverage begins 12 Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific on TSN 5. Back in Winnipeg under the Friday night lights. Alouettes coming to the Manitoba capital and spoiling the party for the Blue Bombers tonight. So much hype, so much buzz after all their acquisitions, but the Bombers have been unable to translate it into points. Willie now goes deep, maybe here. What a catch! Oh my goodness, by Darvin Adams. He's scoring. What a play! How about that? Just like that. 63 yards. Don't go anywhere.
Well, Darvin Adams is the guy who established himself as Winnipeg's deep threat last year. Here he's just on a go route on the outside. And once again, much like the pass to Jace Davis earlier, Drew Willie drops it in there perfectly. Adams does a nice job stacking, getting on top of the defender, using his body to block him out as he slows up for that ball. And then a great effort to stay on his feet and fight his way into the end zone.
Again, do the math. The Bombers really requiring 2 touchdowns with 2-point converts to get back to tie. They need this. Willie gets it. 2 points. Quincy McDuffie. And for those of you who may be watching on ESPN and have never watched Canadian football or over in the UK right now, you never know in the CFL. 2.5 minutes can play like an eternity. So the Bombers now within 8.
Well, McDuffie made it look easy, but that was a nice adjustment to a ball that was thrown pretty hard. A little bit behind him. Guy who's been pressed into offensive duty this evening due to the early injury to Weston Dressler.
Well, Paul LaPolice trying to come up with something here. Should the Bombers get the football back? You don't necessarily right now have to go for an onside kick either. You got some time on the board. You can get the football back and go after it once more. But how about this catch from Darvin Adams? Former go-to guy of Cam Newton in Auburn when he played there. And Adams has become a favorite target here in Winnipeg. And Quincy McDuffie converts it with a 2-pointer.
Well, given the time, Winnipeg could choose here to put their faith in their defense to get a quick stop and get the ball back. Montreal has aligned with their hands team, though, in anticipation of a short kick.
What will the Bombers do? Medlock boots it deep. Logan back at his 20. Steph Logan cuts it back. Head down near the 35-yard line. 2:33 to go. 8-point ball game. So Kevin Glenn, just when it looked like he could start the bus, get ready to head home, this is not over yet.
Montreal needs to churn out a couple of first downs, and Winnipeg defensive coordinator Richie Hall needs to come up with a plan for a 2-and-out here.
Time for the Bomber D to step up. Glenn. And around here, Duron Carter keeping it on the turf.
Good heads-up play.
Third carry of the night for Duron Carter, receiver turned runner. 48 yards on the ground, an 11-yard pickup. Moves the sticks, most importantly, keeps the drive alive.
Yeah, third carry of the night for Duron Carter, but this was my favorite part of the play. The heads up to recognize he wants to stay in bounds and keep that clock running. You see that reworked Montreal offensive line.
Confusion for the Alouettes as they set up the receivers, but Sutton takes it right side and scurries out for 3 or 4 yards.
Late flag down over on that far side as well.
And another flag, and it might be S.J. Green on the sideline. So maybe another unsportsmanlike call here, but also that first penalty flag not related to that. So Sutton, and that looked like maybe a face mask call, or they were looking for a face mask. There's Logan up. Might be Steph Logan who got a little too close to the official. Looked like a face mask call, no doubt. That was that original penalty flag, I think.
Yeah. No question about that.
Major foul, face mask, Winnipeg number 23. After the play, objectional conduct, Montreal number 19. The 5-yard penalty is assessed, automatic first down.
So a first down after that run. And again, the clock keeps moving here. Alouettes can start to seal this with another first down, you would think. It's under 2 to play. Ground again, and there goes Sutton. Huge run at the perfect time, down near the 35. And a Bomber is hurt.
Yeah, that's Maurice Leggett, strong side linebacker.
Nick Lewis helping him back near the 53-yard line.
Yeah, Leggett tried to pop up and get back to the huddle, but just couldn't do it. How about this vision by Sutton? Looks like he's going to take it outside, but he spots a gap and just gets it north-south in a hurry.
Well, Mo Leggett is down near the midfield stripe. Such a huge part of this Bomber defense. Looks like he's going to be able to get up. It's been that kind of night for the Blue Bombers. Mo Leggett banged up here. Well, it started off on a good note for Bomber fans and Winnipeg sports fans. They were cheering early when they learned Patrick Laine was their selection in the NHL draft. Dressler got hurt, then lightning near the area. It came down, and then Chip Cox on his 33rd birthday with a pick. Bombers offense struggling. Alouettes stepping up big time. Kevin Glenn having a fine game. His initial game in 2016, and Alouettes can feel it now.
Well, it's not over yet, but you have to be encouraged if you're a Montreal fan by the closer's mentality that the Owls have showed on this drive.
Again, even if they can get the clock down, it gets down to a third down. field goal by Beatty would put it away. Even if he missed, single point would make it virtually impossible for the Blue Bombers.
Yeah, pretty safe bet from this range that Beatty had put the ball through the end zone.
Jim Popp looks like he's going to get win number 1 after a season of struggle last year in Montreal. 6-12 finish. Both these teams looking to turn the beat around in 2016. Kevin Glenn works the clock here. On the ground once more, so it's going to be 3rd down now. They'll bring Beatty out on the field. Field goal would be inside the 40-yard line. By the way, last year, Dwayne, Boris Beatty, it's actually right on the 40. Inside the 40-yard line, perfect. 28 for 28 last year. And this is from the 40.
Very impressive rookie season for him. Kyle Graves is the holder.
This really is for the win here. High snap though. Beatty missed it. And this has to come out if the Bombers have any chance. So Quincy McDuffie goes down near the 9-yard line. So Winnipeg still has faint hope on a high snap. That wasn't on Beatty. That came high back to Kyle Graves. Maybe when you think about it in retrospect, might have been a good play to just to punt that ball through the end zone.
Yeah. And here, if you look, I mean, I know that McDuffie is just thinking, get it out of that end zone. But his guys looked like they had the Montreal guys outflanked had he taken that to the wide side.
Well, we have seen stuff like this before. Willie to Andrew Harris with a block. Time a ticking though. 49 seconds. Time for maybe 4-5 plays max to get it downfield. They got to take it to the house and a 2-point convert to tie. Willie again. Ryan Smith, first down. Clock ticks to 40.
And remember, Winnipeg had that lost challenge that cost them a timeout a little earlier in this ball game as well.
Well, they've had success with Darvin Adams, who's matched up with the rookie. Willie looks the other way, though. Now steps up, gives it to Harris. Harris, though, goes down. Time down to 22. Maybe 3 plays max here. They're going to have to scrimmage quickly.
And Montreal rolls out a few sets of fresh legs on that defensive line.
Time down to 15. Willie throwing to the sideline, and it looks like the Bombers have one last prayer now. One play really left. It's going to have to be a bomb or maybe a hook and ladder. Well, they keep fighting. That's one thing for sure for Mike O'Shea.
Mike O'Shea looked like he was looking for an illegal contact call downfield here. And this is a situation where you get a crowd of bodies and hope for a completion or a pass interference call. You can get them all in a cluster here.
Drew Willie's going to take it himself. He's going to have to lateral it soon, though. That's it.
Go 4 seconds showing on the clock.
4 seconds now. They've signaled there's still 4 seconds left on the game clock. So the stadium clock has 4 remaining. And Drew Willie wisely was looking at that clock. So one more chance here.
I think everybody here in Investors Group Field held their breath a little bit as Drew Willie took a big hit to end that play and was slow to get up.
So now the Owls way back in prevent. Four-man rush.
Yep. Four-man rush, nobody else within 20 or 25 yards of the line.
So now some laterals, maybe even a boot.
At least three guys
are onside here.
We're onside here, coming from the wide side.
But it doesn't matter, that's it. Bombers give the Owls a bit of a scare late, but the Montreal Alouettes on a long game in Winnipeg tonight with a weather delay spoil the Bombers' party.
An impressive performance on both sides of the ball for the Montreal Alouettes. Kevin Glenn and Anthony Calvillo had their thing going. A few bright spots for the Bombers. We'll look for them to try and build on Andrew Harris in that run game going forward.
Winnipeg goes to Calgary next week. Montreal will play host to Ottawa in their home opener. That's it from Winnipeg tonight. Friday Night Football. Owls win. SportsCenter coming up right now.